Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. I tell you, we have a hell of a show for you tonight. Barry Littleton is here tonight. We're going to get into time travel, paranormal, dinosaurs, and everything else we can squeeze in the next 2 hours before we hit hour 3 with the Swamp Dweller. And I'm excited to have Barry here. I've been a fan for a long, long time. This is going to be one hell of a great interview tonight. You're in for a real treat. Before we bring in Barry, let's say hello to everyone in the chat room tonight. We have Race Fan in the gold medal position, Roy Boy taking home the silver, with Smithy not only taking the bronze medal, but opening up the super chat tonight. Smithy, thank you so much for your love and support of Spaced Out Radio. It really is a great way to support what we do on a nightly basis here on the show. Awesome Ann B, Simon in Australia, gorgeous Kathleen Hughes, Evan Walters, Jurassic Joey, nice to see you all. Hi, Mama Susan and Terry Brown, good to have you both here. Thank you for joining us. And let's move on. We have John Hinojosa, Dirty Filth, who's also drawing up some cartoons for us tonight. By the way, if you go on Amazon right now, Dirty Filth is going to tell you you can get his first ever cartoon book. It has been published. At the first break, Dirty Filth will tell you all about it and tell you how to get it. Go support him. He's such a talent. Such a talent. Awesome Ann Palmer, thanks for joining us. Lovely Lisa Compton, the gorgeous Kathy Evans. What's going on? Brian Drummond is here. Brian will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind. To the left of the studio, the stunning Amy WC is here as well. She'll be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind. To the right of the studio. North Alabama Cryptid, hello. Welcome back to the show. And who else do we have here? We got Luscious Jules, one of our favorite veterans. Black Dragon is here, and we love all of our veterans who tune us in. You always have a safe place here in the Spaced Out Radio chat room. And thank you again for your service, Black Dragon. Howley, how you doing, man? Nice to have you back. Kentucky Robert, Be More Dan, how's it going, buddy? The gorgeous Dirt Road, how's it going? Thank you for joining us. Stunning Jeanette Sanchez is back. And who else do we have? Greenfield Drone, welcome to SOR chat. Very much appreciate you coming on in and checking us out. Hold the phones, everybody. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has officially arrived, which means we can officially start this show. Perfect. Let's move on here. And there's Corka D. Welcome back. And who else is hiding out? Scott Blight. What's happening, my friend? And let's Eva. How are you? The lovely Jenny. Thanks for joining us. George Hernandez. Chris. Teen, how you doing? Looking lovely tonight. Booga 420, welcome to SOR chat. Coming in because of Senior Filthy. We appreciate that. Les Paul Holland. I love that guitar pick. I let my son use it for a couple of strums today at his guitar lessons. His teacher loved it as well. I mean, we're big fans, Les Paul Holland. And let's see, who else do we have here? Peppa H. YJ Overlander, my BC boy. How you doing, buddy? And there's Jeremy Womack. Welcome to SOR Chat. Happy solstice, everyone, as we continue on with roll call. Number 13 in your program from Luleå, Sweden. We got Lars Jansson starting on the right wing tonight. All right, there's lovely Lara. And who else is here? Parasolo, nice to see you. And the gorgeous Cosmic Floor. And Carfunibre, what's happening, man? Dave Rice, welcome and thank you for the tweet. Stunning Stephanie Jackson. Joshua S., good to have you both here. And let's continue on with our roll call because we are running out of time. Papa Willie, the bodyguard, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Thanks for coming on in. TMI, thank you for joining us. And the Cryptid Huntress, looking good there, Jessica Jones. Super Chat is open. The store is open on our website, but right now, horns up. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a power show for you tonight. Barry Littleton is here. We're going to talk some serious time travel type of woo tonight. Then in hour number 3, we got a great story from the swamp, courtesy of Swamp Dweller. Super Duke is back with the Cryptid Report, and Shirky Poo has the news. Barry Littleton is a graduate in psychology, sociology, and ethnic studies from Wichita State University. He, for the last 2 decades, has been involved in administration for at-risk youth, including cognitive behavioral modification and managing aggressive behavior. He also is an option stock trader. But Barry's real, true passion and love in life is the spiritual, metaphysical, and paranormal. This is where he really focuses on finding out information about what is beyond the normalcy of everyday life, from the paranormal and ghosts to dinosaurs to aliens and even a little bit of time travel, which we're going to talk about tonight. Barry Littleton, I want to say a big thank you for coming on Spaced Out Radio for the first time with my show. This is something, man, that I have wanted to happen for years. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm really honored to be here, and thank you for the wonderful introduction. I do appreciate that, and it's an honor to be here.
Over 20 years, you have been searching for answers to the unknown. What led you down this path in order to try and figure out what really is going on?
Well, I'm a what we call an experiencer or contactee, I think, as so many are. There's just thousands and thousands of people that are that. And so in that way, I'm not unique, but not special, but just I think we're all very unique because all of our stories are different. But that led me onto a path of trying to understand what the heck was happening to me, especially scientifically speaking, and kind of trying to combine the conscious and the awareness aspects along with the scientific so that it gives you a good, a foundation, a basis for me to figure out what I was going through. That's kind of where it hit me. I think as so many of us, I felt like I was chased stuff, but the truth is it was always chasing me. So
this is something that you feel has been divine within you your entire life.
Yes. Oh, definitely. Definitely. And I think because I was born very awake, with things that were fragmented past life memories. And I think, a lot of us have these things, but trying to actually correlate it and put it into a chronological perspective is really difficult, especially when we're not taught that in school, and we're not, taught about paranormal abilities, paranormal encounters. These things are just ostracized, and put in the land of crazy and stuff like that. And I think it stops us from really progressing as both people and as a society as well. And hopefully that's changing and we're becoming this type one civilization. That's what I'm hoping. Try not to hold my breath though.
Maybe not in our lifetime, my friend. Sometime down the road, we'll finally all wake up and make things happen that way. But for you, the journeys that you have had with the paranormal, the supernatural, going back in time, do you recall your first experience that really, really moved you?
Yeah, well, there were a lot of things that happened. Like in childhood, waking up not at home, in like some type of a room where you're doing things with your mind, like trying to move water or move these feathers on a table. Stuff like that always stuck out in my mind a lot. At the age of 7, I got a lot of stuff started happening at 7 for me, as I think it does a lot of people, which would be including getting attacked by a disincarnate person, earthbound spirit, a ghost of some type in a haunted house. And I think that happens to a lot of us with gifts because they can see you to a degree. You're like a bright light, and then they try to attack to join with you or to possess you or other things like that. When that doesn't work, they'll attack. And that's what happened to me. And that discourages you from using your abilities, especially mediumship wise. So that's something, so a number of things like that happened. And also being visited by somebody who I found out later in an encounter that I call the acid rain experience that happened to me in 6th grade, that crossed the boundaries of these things being something at night that I knew was real to being actually in my day life, where it crosses over. And those are things that are real, and especially when you feel like you've not slept at night. And I think, the more I've talked about this and talked to people, it's so common. It really is for those of us that are aware, and sometimes some of us just phase it out too. But it's part of our society and part of whatever's happening with our evolution. I think we've got to really tune into it and try to find out what's happening.
I want to ask you, growing up in your area, your neighborhood, were there a lot of people having experiences such as yourself, or was this an anomaly for you and maybe your family?
No, it was definitely not common. Even when you find out when you get a little older that when you're a child, you think if you got telepathy, you think probably everybody can do it. But the truth is not everybody does it. And you start finding that out when you get older. So for me, the experiences and these things are things that I try to keep to myself, with the exception of a couple of my siblings I talked to this about, but then it went from what would be childhood experiences to what I call adult onset experiences, which involved more missing time and a physical encounters where someone else was present several of these times and something happened to them. So those type of delusions are not shared.
You are a multiple experiencer of the unknown, paranormal, supernatural, like you mentioned, telepathy, time missing, everything that kind of goes along with it. Does anything bother you or scare you anymore?
Besides humanity, I think that one thing is this, all right, and I've started talking. I never thought that what I would discuss would go this route, but it's the earthbound population. I do a lot of work with earthbound spirits, and the fact that on this planet you have so many souls that are not crossing over, and that the earthbound population is nearly as numerous as the living. And that's going not even as deep as the demonic level. We're not even going that deep. We're going to people just like you and I and grandma and auntie that don't cross over and get stuck here. And a myriad of things happen after that. How they're being stuck here, how they're being kept, and how that's being treated by our society. It's a serious problem. And, I'm hoping that this shift in consciousness is definitely taking place here on this planet. Because as far as I'm concerned, and I know I'm probably going to get some carrots thrown at me for this, but this place is very hellish. It's hard to survive here. It's dangerous here. I mean, you got the people in control that are destroying the biosphere, hiding technology that will stop destroying the biosphere, hiding contact experiences. So it's just, it's very hellish here. And I'm hoping that that's what's changing right now. And the work you're doing, us talking about this, spreading it like the force, I guess.
Right. You know what? I think it is changing, though. And how I think it is changing is the fact that the younger generations, like I look at my kids and, especially my two oldest who are 23 and 19, and I look at their age group, I look at who they are as people, the young adults that they have become, and I'm very, very satisfied with how they are finding their own spirituality, their own path. They're not letting society, like we were and our generations before, being dictated on how they're supposed to act, how they're supposed to dress, who they're supposed to hang out with. They're free birds, if we could use a Leonard Skinner title there. But they are. And to be honest with you, I have hope for that, because this generation really seems to be opening up. We criticize the younger generations quite a bit for a lot of the stances they take politically, but on a spiritual level, I see my kids, and the kids around them being much more open to the paranormal, to the supernatural, to everything from time travel to aliens. Nothing seems to faze them, because they're like, hey, if the aliens want to come down and join us and have a block party and a barbecue, let's do it. Like there's no hesitation.
Now, I have a question now. Do you feel, though, that perhaps they're being slightly socially stunted by the technology, that they don't social interact the way that
100%.
That's the only thing that concerns me. Like there was a time, like when I was substitute teaching, and you get up there and get some chalk on your bed, and get on the eraser up there. That's interaction. And now sometimes it seems like some of that is being lost just through strictly computers and people looking down at their phone all the time. And I mean, I know it's not the end of everything, but I just get worried that sometimes the younger ones might be losing their social grace just a little, but hopefully not.
I look at my boy. My boy will be 9 on Thursday. And like, give me an example. Tonight, I was watching him at his guitar lesson. And here he is, with not a care in the world, man. He does well in school. He's one of the top in his class. And here I am watching him finger tapping on the strings, going absolutely crazy. Like he's a mini madman rock star going on. And I look at him and he's like, hey, Dad, when are we going to look for Sasquatch in the forest? And tell me about Dogman. And, he wants to learn about the Wendigo and skinwalkers. And I don't promote this show around him. Okay. I know he sneaks on and watches Dad on YouTube every now and again. I know that's happening because he's told me. But the topics that we get into, I am very much about watching him and his interest in trying to not find what's there, but trying to find what's not there. Would that be a better way to put it?
Yeah, absolutely. And that the fact that curiosity is growing is great. Something as simple as ancient aliens in everybody's house all the time on the History Channel is helping to change things and making the paranormal more accessible, more acceptable. I think that's very, very important for us moving forward here, because there's so much we don't know about this planet when it comes to really things that we throw around the word dimension so much. I hear everyone saying that, oh, it's another dimension. What does that really mean? What is that really like when dealing with space, volume, mass? and what another dimension actually exists as in terms of manifesting and unmanifested. I think these are important concepts to examine,
Right.
especially when we're dealing with things that are strictly consciousness and awareness.
You and I are pretty much in the same age category, around that 50 mark. And I'm probably a little bit older and prettier than you, though. No offense. I doubt the prettiness, because my face for radio is dangerous at times. But I want to ask you, in regards to our generation, that 40 years old and up, what are we missing about spirituality, communication, and delving into the unknown?
I think part of it would be the confinement of, I think, organized religion is a problem that still tortures our generation quite a bit, and stepping out of the box, and I think that some things about that, just the auto suggestion of some religious things, such as, somebody might be per se a Christian because they don't want to be shoveling sulfur into a lake with a pig demon pointing them behind them, poking them with a pitchfork. And, so being a Christian or this other religion, just in case that's correct and they don't want to go through that. That's the most powerful auto-suggestion there is. So, and I personally have no religion, so I'm sorry if I offend anyone. For me, there's just the creator. But I think that is a major impairment right there. And the fact that our generation, I think, was the last that's starting to be more culturally aware and multicultural and interact with different cultures and races, but not to the degree of the young ones are now. You've got more biracial people, more multicultural people. It's things are changing in that way. The information alone is changing it, and the sharing of that. So I think that that's something that kind of haunts our generation, being the last one to a degree. And when it goes back further, like my siblings are much older than me, like they're in their mid 60s, and I can see the things that were different that they endured that I did not, and the things that they encountered that they didn't, all the way back to my father's generation, who encountered such horrible racism that, it still scars him to this day. Some things you don't get over. People say, oh, just get past it. Get over what? Get it past that? These are things that are important. And I think that for our generation, hopefully that's the end of that, and it's starting to change with the newer generation in these ways. Does that answer your question?
I think it does. I think it does in a lot of respects, on a personal scale, an emotional scale, and a political scale as well. So I think you did very well with that, Barry. As we got about 5.5 minutes before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour, I want to start kind of pushing towards one of my favorite topics on this show that we 100% do not cover enough, and that is time travel. And I'll tell you, man, ever since, and I've learned a lot since then, but ever since, listening to the old Art Bell days on the radio, where you hear these alleged time travelers call in, I think, even going back to, Star Wars and Battlestar Galactica and, futuristic type movies, Back to the Future was one of my favorite trilogies growing up. It's the only trilogy, believe it or not, that I actually own. And I look at it, man, and I just think, wow, I would love to take that DeLorean 88 miles an hour and travel back in time or forward in time. How did you get interested in time travel?
Oh, great question. Thank you. I had an experience when I was around 7 years old. I was walking home, and I encountered somebody on this bridge by where my parents stayed. It was a African American, melanin dominant black gentleman, and he looked like he could have been a relative, but he couldn't have been. Like, one of my brothers was gone to LA. The other one was he didn't look like these individuals. Okay, he just looked like he was a relative. And this was just something that stuck out to me always. It's one of just weird encounters you have as a kid. And this winds up this individual that I saw on this bridge looks like I looked when I was 22, when I got older. In fact, he even had on an outfit that I wound up having at that age. So this is something that gave me an obsession with time control technology, whether it be of a quote unquote extraterrestrial origin or here on Earth in the private sector. It gave me a real intense, so I call it like a doppelganger experience is kind of what it was like. So that's kind of what led me into that. And then when dealing with these encounters I'd had, a lot of missing time, especially with what I call the adult onset experiences. There were 4 of those that had extreme missing time, about 4.5 hours each time. And 3 of those times, somebody else was with me. One time I was by myself. So this is, that really wanted me to know, like, how are these beings able to bend the space-time continuum like that? And having to deal with that psychologically, because it's like all bets are off when you're dealing with societies that can do that and civilizations that can work with time in that type of way. So that would be, in a nutshell, what made me obsessed with time control technologies of all time.
Well, we got some stories.
On,
we have some stories that are absolutely incredible that have gone on. Do you think that we currently have time travelers on this timeline right now?
I think so. Yes, I think so. But I think that once you come from another timeline, I don't really think that you can change things like is perceived in the movies so much. I think once you go, like if you go back into the past, you become part of the past, I believe. But I believe that what we're seeing in terms of the time travelers are actually more of like historians. And some of the interactions I've had with these beings that were, oh boy, I just have to go into this. I just take heat for this because, okay, look, these particular beings I dealt with were Nordics, these ones. And I've cracked quite a bit about how all the Pleiadians always look like Kevin Sorbo or Fabio, and they never emphasizing some things about like the melanin dominant Pleiadians that the Aboriginals are talking about that's seeding them here. So I've talked about that a little bit and but I also have said that I've experienced some Nordics, and the ones that I experienced, I believe that they were time travelers. And I've kind of stolen a term that would be the temporal commission that I took from one of the Star Trek shows, because that's Integrity Commission, Temporal Commission. That's kind of what they seem like to me. And I think that they're both doing 2 things, maybe trying to preserve the timelines, but also actually watching and monitoring the timelines in terms of historically. And I'd had an encounter when I was a child, young kid again. And this particular ship had these looked like these windows on it. I've got some illustrations of this with these little rails around it. And when I was actually inside, there's like a huge window on this wall. Okay, once the guy moves his head, it turns looking like metal to being a screen. And I'm sure what this was actually some way of recording actually the entire vicinity in time wise. And I think that was actually every compartment on there was probably different time travelers, time agents, maybe not all human. I don't know. Anyway, that's just food.
That is interesting. Barry, yeah. Let's go to break here at the bottom of the hour. We're going to continue with time travel talk. Barry Littleton is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. So many questions about this. So many, and I'm sure you have them too. We'll be back with more Spaced Out Radio when we return. All right, we got 5 minutes, bud.
Cool, right on. We're going all right, man?
Beautiful, beautiful.
Okay.
I'm so geeked out. I want like 6-hour interview with you today. That's what
Thanks, man. That's nice. I'll tell you what,
I can draw 75 cartoons and call in sick tomorrow.
you should, Dirty Filth. By the way, Dirty Filth, while we have you on here, where can people find your new book? Why don't you give us a little peek at it?
Because it's downstairs and I got to draw cartoons during the break.
Well, what's your book called?
It's called Cryptid Cartoons.
Oh, cool.
You can find it on Amazon. You just go plug in Cryptid Cartoons. It's the first of multiple volumes. Yeah, Cryptid Cartoons, a collection of drawings for those of us that wear tinfoil hats. Volume 1, to be exact. And I've already started the second book. That's what it seems like. I've heard all these guys writing books are like, I just put my new book out and I've started another one, and that's how it is. So,
yeah, you're going to be the Grant Cameron of cartoons here, buddy.
Very cool.
I appreciate that, Dave.
I appreciate you, buddy. Let's get a little look here at how it begins right there. We're starting off with some blue sky here. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. By the end of the night, Barry, this is going to look amazing.
Oh, yeah. It looks like just a blotch of mush until after a certain point, and then the picture starts to show up and everybody starts to see it, and they're holding on to their butts the whole time.
Yep. That's our Dirty Filth right there.
Aren't you guys supposed to be going to the bathroom or something?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
There he is.
We got about 4 minutes, 3 minutes, right?
Yeah, we got about 3.5.
Cool.
There he goes. You sent him on a mission, Dirty Filth. Sent him on a mission. I'm excited about your book, dude.
Hey, you know what? When I was a wee lad, all I ever wanted to do in my life was like, I want to publish a book of my cartoons, and I did that. So, you know what? Now the goalposts have moved. I got to keep going, Dave.
Yeah.
You can't just once you accomplish something, you got to Julius Caesar that and just keep conquering everything that you want to do. You can't just be like, I want to order a pizza on Friday and call it quits. You got to be like, I'm going to order pizza on Friday and then Sunday. So you got to get to Sunday. But anyways, I don't know if that's a simile or an allegory.
You know what's awesome? I walked into my kid's guitar lesson today, and he was practicing riffs from Slayer.
Nice.
I complimented his guitar teacher. I'm like, that's the way we get this shit done. That's there's
cool,
no
Dave.
No pissing around with like London bridges falling down or anything like that.
It's like, hey guys,
Slayer. I think it's going to be Avatar very soon. Let's just get this thing going.
It's like, hey Dad, well, you were at work today. I was skip school, and no, I don't tell him to skip school. Jeez, I'm a terrible influence. But he's gonna come up. He's gonna come home one day and be like, Dad, I'm in a band now, and I need you to drive me to this place.
Hey, Dirty Filth. Raz wants Travis Taylor on the show. You try and get us Travis Taylor.
I'm trying, man. Like, I don't know. I just live in Canada. I don't have him.
You got some pull down there. You got some pull at the ranch. Yeah, you do.
I don't know about that. I can't talk without my attorney present. Nonetheless, Dave, this cartoon is not on Earth. I can tell you that much.
Wow.
Yes.
I'm excited.
And it involves more irresponsible time travelers.
Mm-hmm. Remember, everybody, questions for Barry in hour number 2. We got about 35 seconds. Thank you to Chris Holm, Fapster, the lovely Kira, and Smithy for the super chats tonight. That is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you so much. And you can also do some shopping at our store, spacedoutradio.com. And we got some great swag for you there as well. If you haven't checked it out already, plenty of sizes, and even clothes that'll fit my girlish figure. So go do a little shopping. Thank you to all the veterans who have tuned on in. Don't forgive us a thumbs up. And after the show, leave a comment. Tell us what you think, and we'd appreciate it. Here we go, the second half hour. Here, let's kick off the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Having a good time tonight. We're going to get right into time travel. But first, I want to remind you that if you miss portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do us the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Barry Littleton is here. Let's get right into the time travel chat here as we continue on with Spaced Out Radio. And Barry, time travel, man. This is something where you believe you've had an experience. I believe I've had an experience. And we both believe that somewhere on this beautiful planet we call Earth, there are time travelers walking along. Do you believe the stories of Andrew Bashago and others who claim that they are child chrononauts or time travelers, 20 and back super soldiers? There's a lot of interesting stories out there when it comes to time travel, my friend.
Yeah, I think Bashago's probably was the first one that I'd seen come forward with that information. And his, I have no reason to doubt that. If you know it, I think he'd be kind of maybe the original model that kind of seemed to really go forward and everybody else kind of branched off of. So, I have no reason to doubt that. But I'm also very much into some of the time technology that's in the private sector that we can see. And a lot of times we don't pay attention to that until it's things that enter our home or enter our lives. In the medical industry, you've got tons of stuff that are connected to time technology. And that's really important, and some of the things that might be going on in the private sector that do affect our timelines and perhaps create, when you're in the vicinity of some of these type of technologies, I think one of the byproduct is the deja vu effect. You start feeling that, not just the Mandela effect and these time shifts, but actually the deja vu. And that's the way consciously, I think we're picking up some of the changes in the timelines or the small edits that tend to come along with high solar activity with the sun, coincidentally.
Right. Now, where do you think these beings are coming from? Are they coming from 50 years in the future, 500 years in the future, 1,500 years in the future to see what this is like? Or do you think that maybe it's just from a couple of years from now because time travel is already here and we're already experimenting with it?
Like the beings that I interact with, I suspected were time travelers. Something interesting about them, there was 3 of them on this craft in this room, and they looked like they were not identical twins, but almost more than fraternal. It was very odd. And I would say maybe perhaps these other individuals who were sitting down could have been clones of the individual standing up. I don't know. So that already made me kind of curious what happens in the future to where these individuals look like that. And how far in the future is that? Is it several hundred years? But I would say, there's these beings that I call charters too, that seem to appear about every 7 years with lifetime contactees. They approach you somewhere like in a airport, in a bus station, or in a library. And it's somebody that comes out of the crowd and just says something really profound to you. like they have insight on you, insight into your spirit or soul, and then they just disappear back into the crowd, and you don't know really who they were. But there's certain things about their energy. If you detect energy, they have an energy that feels more advanced, that pushes you. They're oftentimes advanced telepaths. And, when I first came forward and started talking about this, it's one of the things I got probably the most responses on. People saying, well, what, something like that did happen to me in the library. This guy walked up to me, or this lady walked up to me, and they, something like that. So that way they feel like, to me, Dave, is that if we don't destroy ourselves, maybe the way people will feel about anywhere, 600, 800 years in the future, if we
My
don't destroy
goodness.
ourselves. And at that point, what emotionally and psychologically and spiritually will people be like before we start changing from this container of consciousness, the Homo sapien container, to something different, which might be these quote unquote plasma balls, like has been talked about on Cryptis Huntress's shows, and also Mel's Hole that came up too. So, is that something we're dealing with here? Is plasma forms when people start becoming more advanced and losing the human body? It's food for thought,
I want to ask you, have you ever had anybody approach you or give you information, paperwork showing that we are involved with time travel today?
Only the research that I've been able to find, but as far as someone actually coming up and showing me that, no. I haven't had anyone just intercede in my life and say, hey, this is time control technology right here. It's stuff I've had to really go looking for, and that started with actually understanding the foundations of what real-time science is and how many different ways can it be used and how many different methods are there. And then starting comparing that to what certain people are saying, people like Lewis Anderson, that was his name, wasn't it? Yeah, David Lewis Anderson, people like that just disappeared, and people say, oh, he was just making it up. Well, he should have known an awful lot about time science and other things. And they tried to put something on the market like a real-time reactor. They try to get a patent for it. That's things that can be looked up. So,
Well, there was the story of a gentleman back in 2003. His name was Andrew Carlson, and he apparently made a fortune off of turning $800 of investment into $350 million. And he claimed that he was a time traveler from 250 years in the future, and he came back in time to set up his life by making money on 126 high-risk trades that paid off because he knew they would win. They tried to arrest him for insider trading, and they did, but the problem was that after he went to court on $1 million bail, which he posted, he disappeared, never to be seen again. He just vanished. I mean, is this a time traveler, or is this somebody who made enough money, out of just sheer luck, where he was able to buy an island, buy a new identity, and just live on cruise control the rest of his life?
Well, when looking at that in retrospect, there are a couple interesting stories that come up. One, of course, would be the John Teeter thing. And contrary to popular opinion, that did not start on Art Bell, not John Teeter. That was a website that guy was on. But, that it's actually him that really put CERN on the map. He said that CERN would inadvertently discover time travel one day. And before that, then that just made CERN blow up. And everybody, it's going to consume the Earth with a black hole and all these things I heard about CERN, when in reality, that's a hadron collider, but those used to be called cyclotrons. And cyclotrons have been around a long time. People can look up the cosmotron. The cosmotron goes back to the 60s. So that's not something just new. But when looking at that, John Teeter, and also you mentioned Art Bell, I'm sure you remember, as I do, Art Bell would occasionally do those time travel lies. And I was listening all the time. And some of those times he would try to screen out some of those mentally disturbed people that called in. But there were a few that come up that were very interesting. One of them was the gentleman that said he was from the year 2037. He called on two of those different lines. And some of the stuff he was saying, and and I can remember other things. When he did that so frequently, those time traveler lines, I remember one of the guys saying that, well, we'll have an African American president, and Art Bell was saying, oh, that's probably not going to happen. Like there's not going to be a female president either. And he's saying, yes, on the timeline I'm from, that's going to happen. And he said something else. He said also things will start going out and everything will start being streamed. I had no idea what that meant. I mean, we're going back to like the 90s. This guy said that, so that's when you start dealing with that. How many of these are people really coming back and interfering with our timeline? I think it's fascinating, and it's something that we can't just discount all the way around. Can't prove it, but we can't discount it either.
Well, I mean, let's look at John Teeter. I mean, there was a gentleman who, he started on a website on a chat forum talking about, different things, and then eventually called into the Art Bell show to talk about time travel, saying that he was from, I believe, 2036 or 2037, and made a plethora of predictions. A lot of them were very, very far off, shall we say. and others, well, vague enough to be close to things that happened. What did you think of John Teeter? Real deal or somebody playing the part?
Excuse me, Dave. What I found really interesting about that story were the pictures he provided in the Corvette and the device itself. It's not a hyperdimensional resonator. I can't remember exactly what he called it now, but he showed pictures of this. And when you start looking at what it might be based on as far as time science, it doesn't seem all that far off. It really doesn't. And it's a very interesting that he provided all those things. And that goes back to like the same guy that said he's from 2037 on Art Bell. He was describing some type of a linear transport vehicle he used to get here. And when you start looking at that and examining that, I think it's a very, very fascinating. And some of the things that you can actually look up about the patent that he said would be for this time device that he had in this Corvette. I just think that stuff like that really bears looking into, and he's just not the first person though that made the claim to be a time traveler either. So, but he seems to be the one that really put a lot of things on the map. So
no, and I agree with you in regards to that. And I mean, Art Bell at the time also was the king of late night radio, and he had the ability to really push the tone and set the tone for, a lot of weirdos to come on, and a lot of people seeking their 5 minutes of fame, and a lot of people who maybe had the strength to finally talk about their own experiences as well. But I mean, can we limit time travel to the extraterrestrials or the other human type or humanoid type bodies that are coming here? Or is this something we think may be part of our futures, maybe not in our lifetimes, but maybe for our children or grandchildren?
I would say it's both. One is, I think that I mentioned before the private sector and the type of technology that exists there as far as time control technology. I think it's way, way more advanced than what's being presented. I mean, extremely. Even to the point of where you've got things like what was called the supposed chronovisor. There was supposed to be alien technology that was gotten by the Vatican, I believe, and they can actually view timelines with it. And it's actually like puts you in the situation itself when you're using this machine. It's like you're actually in the timeline observing it yourself. So that would be one example of that, I think, and taking it in the extraterrestrial way. But when dealing with the actual human components, someone had asked me involving these time travel, they said, have you actually seen a quantum computer? And I had always assumed that they looked a certain way, like a laptop or something small with the super little microchips in it or whatever, but that's not what they look like. They sent me pictures and started looking it up. And when I start looking at a real time quantum computer, it looks an awful lot like something in the middle of the TARDIS from Doctor Who. I'm talking about the column in the middle? They look somewhat similar to that. And that was kind of, disconcerting right there. And when dealing with this quantum computing with quote unquote time reactors and some of these different systems of time travel, like people should look into Dr. Ron Mallett from the University of Connecticut. He's using a system that's these circulating beams, which is a type of time travel as well, time control technology. He's using these lasers to bending these lasers for circulating light beams and time manipulation in that way. So these are things that need to be looked at, and sending data backwards in time. That's another thing that they're doing right now. That's been proven, superluminal communication. So these are things that we can look up that take us even away from just the strictly conspiracy theory. You know what I'm saying? There's the things that can be looked up so people think it's not just completely far out.
No, I can see that, and I can appreciate that. Do we have the technology, in your estimation, to take humans into the future or into the past?
I think that they've got it to view it at least. I'm not sure that they can actually send a body there. They're saying a lot of people are saying that that's possible, but I think it may be more at this point for human in the private sector that they're sending information backwards and forwards in time, maybe opposed to physical bodies so much. But there's things that have been done. Like there's that device that was designed by, who's it? Otis Carr and Ralph Ring, I think. It's that dimensional layer. It's like a type of dimensional patent that they had. And the stuff that surrounds that device is very interesting. They're talking about some time skips there and encountering things like that inside that craft. So these are things, there that can be looked up once again. So.
Oh, definitely.
I know we have some individuals that say they've been transported to the future in these jump rooms and other things. And it's not for me to disqualify that. It hasn't happened to me, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So.
What do we need to prove that time travel exists or that time travelers are here? Do we see them being open in the public? Do we see them being very closed and tight-lipped? Maybe not, trying to break the space-time continuum if we use a Back to the Future type of wording there?
I think when I examine like those Nordics I talked about I encountered, I think that there is definitely some type of a temporal time war going on. And I think that you've got some factions that are trying to maintain that, maintain the integrity of the timelines. Like for example, these time edits come up with these solar activity, high solar activity. These time edits seem to come up. It's things like during 9/11. Do you remember there being Hurricane Aaron hitting Manhattan at the time of 9/11? Do you remember that?
Not at all.
It's a trip. Anyone that heard us just saying that, look up NOAA. There was a Hurricane Aaron that hit Manhattan every day but 9/11. And suddenly 9/11 was clear skies that day for whatever reason. It's things like that. And the fact that we can't readily remember that, is these little weird time skips that some of us are sensitive enough to catch. And they call it the Mandela effect. But in reality,
Yes.
That's some type of a time edit. And it's I don't know. It's again, food for thought. And I think that these time edits also are perceptible to those of us that are somewhere near this technology that's in the private sector in one of these buildings or somewhere like in the Digi Hills of India. They're doing a lot of time technology stuff there. You start picking up this deja vu that starts coming because you're catching these incursion on the timelines or time shifts. Something's going on there, and we don't fully understand it. We've got the inertial drag frame of the Earth that creates something called closed time-like curves. And that's going into something like what we had discussed last time, I think, was Mel's hole. and how possibly this thing is going down so deep, it's picking up the frame drag, inertial frame, the drag, and it's actually creating like closed time-like curves as well. And that hole kind of conforms into something called a Templar cylinder by the guy Mike Templar, and that's another way of time travel. And that almost that Mel's hole sounds like it could be a Templar cylinder functioning like that as well. So these things are food for thought, and some sort of time interference with Mel's hole would kind of explain some of the phenomena that's reported there. Not all of them, but some of them. And it's food for thought.
Have you ever had a Mandela effect happen to you?
Yes. Several times I've detected something that is like, and it can be something as simple as you go by a house you've gone by every day for years, and then all of a sudden it's just a different color one day. Just a different color. Like, how could they possibly have painted that overnight like that? And it's things like that, these little small things that happen that you can catch that are shifts in the time field. There's several things I've picked up with that have been, questionable, starting with seeing craft. And letting I know I don't want to offend anyone because I know CE5 is real big right now, but for me, calling in craft doesn't appeal to me that much, because when they get too close, you start losing time, hours and hours of your life, and you've just been on board this craft or something, and you can still see the beings, you can feel them, you can see the technology, but the further you get away from the event horizon, the more it starts fading and becoming, So that's why a lot of people's experiences are fragmented, and for example, for me, it happened to that happened because the vibration of the beings themselves and inside of this craft is so much faster than us that it's hard to level consciously speaking. And then when you're away from the event horizon itself, the more it fades and you start forgetting. So these are things
I had one about a year and a half ago. Do you know David Weatherly?
The name sounds familiar, but I can't say.
So David used to come on here quite a bit, and it was one of the last times I had him on the air. And I was searching through Instagram, and I saw this book by him come out that read Sea Monsters of the Great Lakes. So I called him up about 5:00 my time, and I said, "Hey, dude, I'm really excited. I want to talk sea monsters of the Great Lakes. I saw you got a brand new book on this. I saw it on Instagram today, and I cannot wait to talk to you about this." And he goes to me, he goes, "Yeah, that's an absolutely great topic for us to discuss. We haven't discussed that yet." He goes, "However, Dave, there's a problem." I said, "What's that?" He goes, "I never wrote that book." And I said, "What do you mean? It was on your Instagram." And he's like, "No, dude." He goes, "I haven't written that book." He goes, "Maybe that's one I need to write." I said, "But I saw the Sam Sheeran cover with the sea monster in the water. Sam Sheeran type of art." He goes, "Sorry, man." He goes, "I don't know what the hell happened, but that's not my book."
Wow.
I said, "Your eerie lights." He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Well, yeah, true story, man."
Wow.
Freaky.
Wow. That's an interesting one. I had a situation. My sister's got a pretty good memory, and we were sitting around.
Hold that thought. The reason why I apologize, we do have to go to commercial break here at the top of the hour. Man, I love this. From time travel over to the Mandela effect. Somewhere in the next hour, dinosaurs are making an appearance here on Spaced Out Radio. BarryLittleton.com is the website. Our guest, Barry Littleton, he is amazing in his research. Love the guy, and we're glad he's here for hour 2 next on Spaced Out Radio. All right, my friend, we are clear. YJ, thank you for that amazing super chat, buddy. Appreciate that. And who else has come in here? Excuse me. The lovely Yana. Welcome back. She is asking, do Barry's doctors know he is out past his curfew? I don't know what that means.
No, I think it's an insult.
Or is it the fact that at our age we should be in bed by now watching Matlock? Eddie Rodriguez, how are you? Hey, we're going to take a little break. We got about 5.5 minutes here. We're going to turn everything over to Dirty Filth, and it's all yours, Dirty Filth. Make things dirty for us, man. I'll be right back.
Thanks, Dave, for abandoning me once again on your radio show. That's all right. I'll cover you. So let's see here. Oh boy, it's kind of getting a little more clear. We get a Sasquatch in there as well. Nice. I have to adjust my microphone. I apologize if it makes any noise. There we go. Well, we're almost done the grass here. This is on a different planet. This was on another planet in a previous time. Like traffic chopper flying around outside if you hear some of that noise and whatnot and so forth. You'll suffer because I'm not closing the window because it's really hot out right now. Yes, it gets hot in Canada despite living in igloos. I'm not sure if my pal Shannon is still here, but Shan, if you're still here, then right on. Thanks for coming and hanging out. We'll have some baked lasagna in the near future. Actually, no, wait. I think I owe you buttered chicken. You might not even be here, so I'm just talking to the audience here. Since everybody knows now, I make a wicked buttered chicken. That's not important right now. What's important is finish up this drawing. Make sure we do the bush. Always have to have a big bush. The bigger the bush, the better. It's very important. Just like me, I saved a whole bunch of money on shampoo by switching to bald. However, you can still use conditioner on your chest hair. It works out just right and dandy. Alrighty. Switch the old smaller gentleman here. A little more precise bit of dirt on the background. Well, I hope everybody's night is swimmingly. Oh yeah, I got my book out. If you go to Amazon.com or CA if you're Canadian, apparently, excuse me, they don't sell them in Brazil. So if you live in Brazil and you want one, get a hold of me. I'll buy one, mail it to you. I work in a warehouse. I can ship things for free. But look up Cryptid cartoons by... No, I can't even... I'm not spelling the name. It's too much work right now. It's not important. Cartoons, more important. Get this done. Add it to volume 2. You can buy 2 at once. Or you can just buy pizza. Nonetheless, I think we're done the background here. On these larger drawings, the biggest thing that always gets me is the backgrounds because I got to do so much. But now we're on to the characters, my favorite spot. I apologize for this. When I do this, I'm just trying to... I don't got like a hair dryer or anything, so it's just cool off the drawing so the ink dries faster. Alrighty. Looks like Dave's coming back, hacking out a lung, scoffing 15 ciggies.
You're hacking a lung.
I'm not hacking a lung, Dave. I was surprised I didn't have any
Hi, gorgeous Steve Swiger. Hello, the unknown. President Zaddy, welcome to SOR chat. And who else has joined us here? Let's see here. Scrolling on up. Doug Shelby has dropped a $5 super chat. Thank you, Doug. Appreciate that. Also a big thank you to YJ, Grant, Co-Create Happy, Lala, Chris, Fabster, Kira, and Smithy for the amazing super chats. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on Spaced Out Radio on a nightly basis. So thank you so much. Hi, gorgeous Marie, Eddie Rodriguez. Nice to see you guys back here. And let's see here. Do some shopping at the SOR Vault. If you get the chance, we got some really cool swag. Thank you to everybody who's given us a thumbs up, thumbs down. Here we go with hour 2.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Balbutiant. Balbutiant is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with our good friend Barry Littleton. He is here talking, well, time travel. We got into the Mandela effect. We're going to get into some dinosaurs here pretty damn quick. His website, BarryLittleton.com. Barry, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you.
I am having so much fun with you tonight, man. Thank you so much for joining us. I love these topics of conversation. We were talking about the Mandela effect right before the break. Do you think that the Mandela effect is timeline shifting or something with CERN that is happening, or is this just a natural life effect?
I think it's time edits. And, and I wonder exactly what core mechanism that comes from, in terms that it always coincides with solar activity and high solar activity. So that's kind of where I would stand on that. And so, I mean, I think that it could be a combination of multiple things in the private sector and whatever it is that actually the mechanism of time itself that's affected with the solar activity. So that's where I think that ties in. So I think it's more than even just a natural effect. There's something called electron diffusion regions, which are actually these doors, these portals that occur between the magnetic fields of the Earth and the sun. You can look that up. They open like every so many minutes, and these portals appear. So that's another way that we could start, catching these type of time edits and these time shifts that occur during solar activity.
What do you think the purpose of them is? Is it to play with life? Is it to play with time? Is it to play with people's minds? Because there's so many of these Mandela effects out there, and I'm not talking the little things, whether it's a movie quote, like Luke, I Am Your Father, that people could be misquoting for years, or book titles or anything like that. But there are some big ones out there that I don't even remember or understand.
I think a major one to look at is the fact that it seems to be something that's always trying to turn the timeline on this planet to one of nuclear war. This comes up again and again, and we're facing it again, and it just has been a high solar activity again. So I think this is about control of the planet and who actually gets to remain the stewards of this planet. Some don't realize that it's awful easy if humanity is gone. There are many other civilizations and interdimensions, multidimensionals that are wanting to come here and take over the stewardship of this planet. It's very serious. We see them flying around all the time. They want to call them UAPs now. Okay.
Are you not a UAP fan? Are you still about the old UFO?
Well, I mean, I still see those old books. Like you said, we're about the same age. Everything was the old UFO books, and it seems like when you say UAP on a title, like a YouTube title, half people don't know what you're talking about. So I always stick with the whole UFO, I guess. Maybe we should call them StarCraft or something cool, I don't know. Something I wanted to mention, if I could.
Please.
You had brought up one. I know we're going to lead into dinosaurs, and I had mentioned the 9/11 event also. But something else that came out right during that time that happened was this picture of what was supposed to be a Petrosaurus or some type of a flying dinosaur around the Twin Towers. And that picture can still be found, but it's something that everybody just kind of forgot about. And it was said, I heard some people saying, oh, it was actually a remote control thing, but whatever, it was very odd. And when dealing with these potential time shifts or whatever they are, or time fissures or whatever, I've always been, when looking at dinosaurs, attracted to the Congo. The Congo has so many reports of different type of dinosaur creatures, especially ones that are like inhabiting the water, like brontosauruses and things. This is very, I want to say it's Mabimbe. I'm not good with it. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and there's the things all the way down to Triceratops being seen there, and that's things that I think that need to be looked at location wise. Is it strictly that it's jungle and it's preserved? These creatures are preserved because it's jungle there, or is there also some type of a portal there or dimensional rift or something that's allowing these creatures to come through and still being seen? It's food for thought, if nothing else, because I'm still a firm kind of believer that one part of the Sasquatch phenomenon is what Fred Beck said in his book, I Fought the Apes of Mount St. Helens. He kept saying that they're manifested beings, and he gave several examples of that and how they actually manifest around the morphogenic field of humanity. These are things that need to be really thought about when, as you've heard, as I have, all the tracks just disappear.
I do. I do. I mean, we see it with Bigfoot. We see it with other creatures. We were just talking about this last night, how with Sasquatch, why are 90% of the footprints found right footprints? You rarely see a left footprint. It always seems to be a right foot.
That is true, isn't it? I never thought of that. That is true.
Right? I mean,
yeah.
that is amazing. Absolutely amazing. And I just cannot believe that. I cannot believe that it is something that I don't even know how to put it. It's part of the mystery, Barry. It's part of the mystery.
Speaking of that, what is it? People laugh when I say this, but what is it with all these entities that just jump into our field of awareness and then jump away. There's a lot of them that do that. I mean, even Chupacabra, the original one that looked more like some type of a gray with the marsupial patch and the spikes, they were reported to do that all the time too. Or Spring Hill Jack. These are entities, the Mothman, that just jump into people's field of awareness and then jump away. And that makes me really question how much is their inorganic nature. And when we're seeing these creatures, we're actually using our cognitive dissonance and bias and all that to actually see them as things we understand. But really, are they like orbs bouncing around? You know, I mean, it's just food for thought again. A lot of things. And with these cryptids, especially the dinosaur types, it's a lot of signs that this place has every signs of being a laboratory. And these creatures come and just fade away encrypted and fade away into folklore and are dismissed, you know.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I don't understand it. I don't get it, you know, but let's get into some dinosaurs. We got Mokele Mbembe. The Ropin, which are like pterodactyl type creatures, are said to fly in a triangle between New Zealand, Texas, and Mexico border and up here to the Canadian and Alaskan, or the British Columbian and Alaskan border, and then back down. We hear about mini Tyrannosaurus rexes running around. We're hearing about mini raptors along the northern Texas border through Louisiana and around there. Are dinosaurs still here?
You know, I mean, I think that probably they weren't all eradicated from the fossil, or from our fossil record anyway. I think that they weren't all destroyed. There's several things, especially when you start dealing with the ocean and some of the entities that can go so deep down, and whatever happened here, the freezing or whatever, how far did that go down? It wouldn't have went all the way probably to the bottom of the ocean, and you still got a sea life there that's going to involve dinosaurs. And we've seen so many examples, like especially like once again in the Congo and things in the jungle of these things still existing. You know, my uncle that is no longer with us, but he had when he's in Vietnam, and said that he saw something in the jungle that he thought was a dinosaur. And he said that it was a lizard that stood up. It wasn't a Komodo, but he said it stood up and flared its thing, and it was spitting salmonella at him. And then it turned around and walked off on two legs back into the jungle. And he swore that it was some type of a dinosaur that must not have been extinct. So, you know, I think that's more common than what we think. And how deep do most people really go into the jungles? I know I'm not going that deep.
Okay, let me ask you this, okay? Because I know footprints of Mokele Mbembe have been found, okay? And I get that, and I really want that one to be real. But I mean, knowing how dangerous the Congo is, not just with their diseases that the bugs are carrying, but the fact that it's a very hostile country, the idea that it's there is very plausible to me. But for the rest of them, whether it's thunderbirds or giant ravens or pterodactyls or whatever it may be, could people actually be looking into a different timeline when they are witnessing these creatures rather than actually witnessing them on this timeline? So they're not really real here, but these people who have witnessed these have looked into the past.
I think so. I think there can be an overlap, and then we still are able to perceive that. Definitely. And I think a lot of times that may be explained why these things seem to just vanish in front of people also when they're watching them. You know, so I would say definitely there could be an overlap of the time-wise that you're seeing a different time in the past. You know, we really don't know exactly how all that works dimensionally on this planet. Is it like the layers of an onion dimensionally on this planet? And that includes the time frames as well. It wouldn't take much of a vibrational disturbance for us to start perceiving something that once was.
Right? I mean, that's just it baffles me. That's one of the mysteries I have regarding this subject. Are we
Hmm.
looking into a different timeline as that happens?
Hmm. Hmm. And I with like the creature you just mentioned, I just find it interesting because those are reported to be Brontosaurus, but they're always reported to staying in the water almost at all times. And I find that very, very interesting, and how much does that have to do with the water being part of something that's the vessel that that carries them between time? Is that got something to do with it? Is that got something to do with how they're able to receive them? It's very, very curious to me, and the amount of different flying birds and dinosaurs you hear about is amazing. In that book, the Uranta book, they talk about a time where some of the other races were using something they called fandors, which are very large birds. But then when I look at something like Göbekli Tepe, they've got these headless people riding these huge birds. It's the same thing, and they're showing so much in Göbekli Tepe that they talk about in that Uranta book. It's fascinating to me when you can actually see correlations like that. But they talked about how those birds are no longer around. And are they though? They're seen frequently, it seems like, by pilots and things, and it's just sequestered. So, and it's more than just the Petrosaurus, like you mentioned. There's the pterodactyl, there's the Petasaurus. There are all these different things being seen, and that, even at in Washington, that ranch, they're talking about they saw something like that around there that almost sounded like some type of a cyborg to me, to be honest with you. Some type of a giant bird seen eating roadkill.
Yeah, I mean, that was like a vulture, except like a 5-6 foot vulture. It's ugh. I mean, I will tell you, I will tell you the fact that around here we actually have these what do they call it? Sand cranes. I don't know if you've ever seen them before, but they're like 5-6 feet tall, and they've got like a 8-10 foot wingspan.
Wow.
And when they take off, you can actually hear them taking off, and their wings are very, very loud. And I'm wondering if maybe some of these pterodactyls or that are being spotted are actually these sand cranes.
Wow, that's a good question. That's a big wingspan right there. That's a big wingspan. Wow. Sand cranes. Yeah, I don't think I've actually seen one of those. I've seen a crane, but not one to that size. That's big. It wouldn't take much for a misidentification, would it?
No, it absolutely wouldn't. It absolutely wouldn't. And I think that a lot of these dinosaurs, man, are just absolutely how can we put it, Barry? Absolutely eerie that people today are seeing them. Yet, Barry, we don't see or hear of dinosaur ghosts. Like for instance, in Drumheller, Alberta, which is just south of Calgary towards the US border, there is thousands of acres of dinosaur bones that are uncovered daily in this area. Well, maybe not daily because during the winter the tundra gets a little cold around there, but especially in the thawing months, there is a lot of dinosaur bones found in that area. And yet no one ever recalls hearing any type of dinosaur ghosts or dinosaur sounds or anything that we do hear from, say, war zones or the pyramids or something along those lines. What do you think that is? Dinosaurs not have souls, or what is it, man?
Hmm. You know, I wonder if it has something to do with mass also. Their mass. I mean, I gotta be honest, I don't have an answer for that one, my friend. It's because I don't, it's interesting because like people's pets still have spirit bodies. So I don't know why dinosaurs don't, you know what I mean? Or is it just the fact that people are putting so much emotion into their pets that they manifest in that way? So I can't really tell you. I don't know. And unless of course what you just described and these sightings that we're having of these dinosaurs they're not actually alive, and that's what they are. They're images of the past or ghostly type of images. That is possible, if you're not getting any hard evidence, something like scat or actually footprints.
Well, I mean, here's one thing: is we got about 3.5 minutes to go before the break at the bottom of the hour. I think, like with these thunderbirds that are said to be 40 feet in length and wingspan, that's a big bird. That is almost the size of a F-18 Hornet, which is about 56 feet. 40 feet, number one, is going to appear on radar because it's bigger than a Cessna airplane.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to appear on radar, number one. Number two, if that thing ever dropped a deuce, it is painting vehicles. It is painting buildings. It's painting green trees, white or brown or whatever you want to call it. Okay. It is painting the area that it's in. Yet we've never found that. And this is what makes me believe that maybe we're staring into a brief second glimpse and into the ether, into the past.
And also a lot of times aren't these birds sighted like over very high mountain ranges most of the time?
Well, there's been a lot seen on the East Coast, especially in the Pennsylvania area, New York area. In there, they have allegedly been seen here in British Columbia. The pterodactyls, according to a First Nations reserve up north of me, I'm saying a couple 100 miles north of me, claims that sometimes when their men go missing, that they are being taken as food for these pterodactyls. There's a lot of scariness going on, man. A lot of scariness going on with that.
Wow. Well, that's always been said for a long time that they, fly off with children and take people. I mean, that's going back for a long time. You've got legends like that. So, wow. That takes it out of being just a ghost if they're grubbing up on people.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, realistically, with 1 minute to go, I mean, we have seen videos of eagles trying to grab children, infants, a year old, 2 years old. There are videos of that happening. And why wouldn't they? If they go after goats and rabbits and sheep, well, a child is smaller than a sheep or a goat, and yet the eagles are strong enough to fly away from them or with them. I mean, that's scary, man. That is completely scary.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. And that, and it wouldn't take much to have any type of a raptor that size, much bigger, that could almost, take someone's child. That's pretty scary.
I agree. Barry, we got you for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio. I cannot believe how fast this show is going, my friend. I mean, this has just been unbelievably good tonight. Time travel, Mandela effect. Let's get into portals when we come back, because this, I think, ties everything together. Are portals real? Are we walking in? Is where the missing people are going? Spaced Out Radio with Barry Littleton continues right after this on the Mighty SOR. Stay tuned. All right, we're clear. Just for some of the BS that happened in the chat room earlier on, I don't care who it is. It is not cancel culture, okay? But if you use certain language in my chat room or in any of the SOR chat rooms, you're banned for good. There are certain things that I have absolutely zero tolerance for, and that is one of them. And I'm not even going to repeat it because it's thoroughly disgusting. And no, I'm not blowing it out of proportion, but that is my decision. And those are the rules of the chat room. And if you don't want to abide by the chat room, we don't want you here. I don't care if you're a super chatter, a major super chatter, or if you're somebody who just comes in to listen to the show. There are certain things that I do not tolerate, will not tolerate, and will never accept in my chat room. And the comment that was made by a very, very loyal listener of ours, unfortunately, they're banned for good right now. They're banned for good. And we will never, ever tolerate absolute bullshit and garbage like that here. So I apologize to all of us in the chat room. The comment has been erased, and the person who posted it has been banned from the room. And that's unfortunate. Very unfortunate that somebody had to be stupid like that. So I apologize on behalf of everyone at SOR. So there we go. Sorry about that, Bear.
Oh, that's right. It's all good.
Mm-hmm.
Hope I'm not setting a bunch of people off.
No. Just somebody being an asshole. We are good. Good. Let's see. Dude, I gotta ask you, if you ever were in the forest and you came across one of these stairwells, okay, that's sitting in the middle of the forest, would you walk up it?
Ooh.
Oh, I know. I know.
I don't know, man. I gotta tell you, man, I don't know. Maybe not, because what if then all of a sudden you're hanging out with David Paulides? You know what I mean? Or at least chronologically, or in his books anyway. Because I mean, I don't know, like people like Tom Powell had told me. He said if you're ever out in the wilderness and you see the shimmering, like little shimmering stuff, go run from it, get away from it. Don't go into it. You'll come up missing. Yeah, I was like, okay, I don't plan on being out there anyway. I leave that up to Jessica Jones and the crew.
Oh yeah, you leave that to Jessica. She's running in there. You know she is. Dude, I'll tell you.
Yeah. I have heard about these stairwells in the middle of nowhere, and it's like, if you go up, are you going to heaven, or is it like a trick? You know what I mean?
I got a freaky story for you. So my buddy Paul, who we call the Lip Blade, him and I are out looking for Sasquatch one night, and it's dark out. It's about 10 o'clock at night. My little boy loves coming out, but he always falls asleep in the back of my Jeep. And so we take this one logging road, and Paul starts getting hit. He starts getting hit, and he's like, dude, we can't go up this road. We got to turn around. There's something up there. And his spirit guides start talking to him. And he's like, yeah, we just cannot go up this road. There's something up there that something bad's going to happen if we see it. Okay, fine. I am perfectly fine turning the vehicle around. Okay. So we turn the vehicle around. We get to the fork in the road where we hook up with the main road. And all of a sudden, my son wakes up out of a dead sleep, dude. And he goes, Daddy, it's time for us to go home. It's not safe here. And then he puts his head back down and falls back asleep.
Wow.
Dude, Paul and I were like, you got to be kidding me right now. You got to be kidding me. All right, here we go, my friend.
Cool. Okay. Wow.
We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate it. Want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. For the final time tonight, we got Barry Littleton. BarryLittleton.com is his website. And before we get into portals here, Barry, I got a couple questions from our audience. Let's start off with Happy here. What is your thoughts on Bigfoot and horsetail braiding? Now, before you answer this, I actually had 3 listeners in one night. Joe, who's in our chat room here tonight in California. There was Elizabeth in Colorado and Bill in Ontario, who all had seen braids in their hair, in their horses' manes and tails. And it's believed that Sasquatch does this either as a romantic thing or as a peaceful thing. What do you know about it?
Oh, wow. Cool question. Yeah, I did post that a few years ago, and I had to dodge the bullets that were coming my way. A lot of people got upset. It's what it is it's the researchers that were reporting this, not me, and I've heard even more about it since that time. That is that the juvenile Sasquatch are denied by the alpha male sexual activity. So they wind up taking it out on horses. And that while they're doing this, they're assaulting the horses, they put these ties in the manes. And it's different than a wind tie. It's actually like a braid, and it's a certain type of a braid that they're doing. And when I started asking various researchers and delving into this deeper, I heard quite a bit of this going on. So it's not just an isolated incident. I know some people get mad. There are Forest Brothers. They wouldn't do that. We don't know that much about them. All right. And so that's just a thing. And I found that being a more common type of assault that's reported against horses than is reported by the mainstream. So, yeah, it's not, not all parts of that phenomenon are beautiful. So.
All right, let's move on to another question here. And this one from Robert in Kentucky. Have you ever heard of Project Looking Glass? It's a device that the government uses to look into the future to change the timeline. What do you think about that?
Yeah, to me, it sounds an awful lot like the chronovisor. They sound like similar technologies quite a bit, which is something they're going to have gotten from a different race that is dealing with these timelines and dealing with time control technology. So yeah, I've heard of it definitely, and it's like a lot like the Etheric chronovisor. I think they're quite similar in terms of devices.
All right, let's move on here to another question. And this one comes from Alien Critter. Barry, of all your experiences, which was the most profound and life-changing?
Oh, wow. Good question. I'll tell you, every time any of this stuff happens to me to this day, I feel like I'm brand new. I mean, it's paranormal stuff. I think probably what I've termed the this craft that I've called the organic UFO. I watched this thing transform in the sky from something that is a metal craft to what the Keys of Enoch book would call a tripyramidal Merkabah, okay, which was crystalline, and this crystalline type of a structure it turned into in the sky. And seeing that really was hard to accept and really pushed me to the brink. And the next thing would be just right up there with it was when I saw this UFO through a mountain at that ranch in Washington. I saw this UFO. I could see it through the mountain, and somebody else is with me. They saw it too, so it wasn't just me. That type of delusion is not shared. It's one thing for me to sit here with my mouth and talk to you about the holographic principle. And I know Stephen Talbot wasn't a contactee, yada, 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 yada. That's just talk, okay? When you actually see something like that, it pushes you, your perception, and your cognitive abilities to the brink. Those two situations definitely stand out in my mind as experiences that really stopped my world. They literally stopped your world. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Let me turn the tide here. What would you want to experience?
You know, I think I would like to be in the presence of the angelics that I was when I died. I'd like to see them again, but not in this body and not partially going through the portals of death. Because I think they were very regal. The type of love that I felt coming from them was just something that is not like anything extraterrestrial I've encountered or even any other type of angel. These were super nanofem. They were really high up. So I like to feel that pure love like that again and that intensity of it.
I want to fly the ship. I want to go up consciously because I'm a contactee and an abductee too, Barry. I don't know if you knew that or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you. But I can tell you, I want to fly the ship, but I literally want to walk out my backyard. I don't want none of this nighttime take me, where I'm barely conscious and I've already been sleeping. I want to come out of this studio one day, walk into my backyard, see the ship there. I want to walk on board and say, let's go to a 24-hour Taco Bell because I need some tacos right now. Right? I honestly, dude, you don't know what it's like being 2 hours away from a Taco Bell. Okay, it's the horrific thing ever. But nonetheless, I joking aside, I want to fly the ship. That's what I want to do. I want to have conscious recollection of getting into the seat, just like the movie Flight of the Navigator, and I want to go for a rip around the universe and wherever that craft takes me. And I want to hear that little voice say, where do you want to go? Compliance, right? That's what I want, man. Something that I underestimated in my experiences was the sentient level of the craft. I thought at first maybe they were just sentient the same way as like a microorganism is. That type of sentience, very more natural. But I had no idea. Really, I was dealing with something that is, for example, a craft that has a room that is full of these, you talked about portals, full of these portals, these micro wormholes, and they're opening and closing everywhere, okay? And I even have a being that jumps in front of my field of awareness and it's a light being, looks like a pink orb almost. It starts unfolding like a sunflower. And it starts looking like that, and it jumps into one of these portals, and it comes out another one almost a millisecond later. And they're telling me that they're like fish out of water in our dimension. So that's something when dealing with that. But this room I'm in actually is a room where this craft that is capable of traveling to not just other dimensions, but other universes. Okay, and what it can do is choose the path of coherency to that universe.
That's extreme sentience, and being someone walking around on this craft, I wonder, like, how come, well, some of these beings are not even corporeal. But I'm like, why am I not being escorted, really? One, I'm so sick, I'm not much of a threat to anybody, okay? But why am I not being escorted? But, it's the point that the craft can actually scan our soul life memories, our race memories too, I believe. So, I mean, that's a different type of sentience from a craft that may be, thousands and thousands of years old for all we know. And I think it just is sometimes when dealing with that, and what you're talking about is expanding our perception, definitely. So in that way, the craft, I think, wasn't trying to have me steer it or me be in control of it. It's doing its own thing, but I just underestimated how much of in control it is. I'm still looking for, like, a captain. Where's William Shatner or somebody out here that's controlling it, a being controlling it or in control of the crew. And it's not. They're existing symbiotically with the craft itself. That's why a part of their orgone field, their orgone energy, their kundalini is actually helping power it. It's a prana system. So, once again, food for thought. I'll just throw that out there.
King of Huecomundo is asking, Barry, what are your thoughts about Andrew Bishago? Real deal or real BS?
Well, he was the first one that I had heard that came forward talking about time travel technology. And it seems like a lot of people kind of built on his work and what he was talking about. So as far as I'm concerned, it's not for me to doubt his experience. But when it comes to, like, different types of time control technologies and some of the technology he described, I find it interesting, and I wouldn't just disqualify it. So that means, but I've heard definitely some things he said that were much more valid than things I've heard coming from others that were after him, if that makes sense. So
yes,
I think he's one of the originals.
Well, I think his whole storyline went for a big giant fart after he predicted that he was going to be president of the United States.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
Oh, yeah. And for some reason, he was not elected.
Was that okay? I'm sorry. I didn't know he was giving predictions of presidency and stuff like that. I looked into what he was saying a little bit, but I don't, when I'm looking for always things that can be substantiated in science, especially. So that leads me more to things like, Dr. Mallet and people like that.
I hear you. So what apparently happened there was he was, according to Bishago, him and his dad and Barry Soetoro, a.k.a. Barack Obama, and his mother were sitting down in the lunchroom, and somebody came over and said, we are sitting, here with the next president, and then somebody said, well, the next two presidents in the future, one being Obama, one being Andrew Bishago. Well, I mean, to me, that's where he blew his story. But nonetheless, Gloria here, this will be our final question for you before we get into some portal talk. Is there something or a being or creature that you would not like to ever encounter, Barry?
Well, let me just throw this out, all right? Although I've heard so many different things about the reptilians, and when I read, like, the research and data that Ray Hernandez has collected concerning in the free or the contact modalities have collected about the reptilians, what we're being told about them isn't even fully correct. But I'll tell you, I've never encountered the reptilians. And the fact I've been on board several craft and not seen a 10-foot bipedal crocodile walking up on me, I'm cool with that. I don't really need to see one, or any of these really demonic entities. I've seen shadows chasing people and jumping on people and using people as prey. Okay, and that's as far as much of that as I want to see. There's so many different demonic forces that are on that dark scale. No, thank you. I'll pass on that. I'll pass on the reptilians. I haven't seen the little grays either. I'll pass on that. I don't want to see I don't want to see the bio androids. I'm good.
The last time I was taken was a couple of weeks ago. And here's one for you. This will throw you for a loop. In my dream state, I am standing there with Brandon Fugel, owner of the Skinwalker Ranch, and we're standing on a driveway and just chatting about weird stuff. And all of a sudden I hear this bush shuffling to the left of me, and I turn and look, and there is a gray being standing there, but instead of the big almond black eyes, it has luminescent green, much like the color on our screen here. Its eyes are that color, and it's showing me pictures of 3 different triangles. A black one in dusk, a black one at night with the 3 corners lit up, and then a daytime triangle, but it's not black, it's silver. And all of a sudden, I turned my back to it, and I said, Brandon, we need to go. I think we're about to be taken. And I felt that gravitational pull towards the creature, and I'm like, oh, God, here we go. Here we go. Next thing I know, I wake up on top of my covers in my bed, wide awake, and I wrote everything down. But that little alien gray with the green eyes, never seen that before, man. Never seen that before.
Was it a taller one or a smaller one? Or
smaller one?
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Interesting.
That is now 1, 2, 3, 5 different types of grays I've seen. Six different types of
grays. Were you feel that they were all like biodroids or living forms? What do you feel there?
I don't even know, man. I don't know.
I've seen, as close as I've seen to a quote unquote gray, and they weren't grays, were these little blue guys.
Really?
And they told me they're Andromedan council people or something. They were really, I want to say these guys were little. They're pushing like 2 feet tall. They were little. And they had what appeared to be like, their form kind of looked kind of like what the grays look like, but they were blue, very blue. And so that's just as close as I've seen. And people have asked, I've got illustrations of that experience, and people have asked, did they feel like robots to you? And I said, no, they didn't feel like robots or androids to me. I could feel emotions coming off these beings. It's like they kind of cared about me, and they cared about the work they were doing too. That's just what the feeling that I got. Although they stayed on task, I felt emotion coming from them.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
That's incredible. All right. We got 6 minutes to talk some portals. I'm a firm believer, and I'm curious your opinion, that a lot of these people who have gone missing, like David Paulides' missing 411, have just walked into portals and disappeared. And on that timeline, wherever they are now, everything's the same, but on this side, they're gone. What's your opinion of that theory?
I think that in terms of that, maybe that happens in something like the Bermuda Triangle. You've got a type of a phasing out like that almost, and that they're just in another perhaps timeline or another Earth reality or something to that event. So I would kind of say that I would agree with that to a degree, definitely. I think that these portals, like something that caught my attention with David Paulides' work was the one that water deaths. And when they actually did those chemical tests on some of these bodies, these people have been found, they had something like, 30 times the amount of GHB in their body that they could have got at a club. So that when they actually got dumped in the water, they weren't already dead, they drowned. They weren't capable of swimming anymore. And I can't help but think, where in the wilderness that they disappear at, with the criterion that Pauletti's has, would they possibly get exposed to 40, 50 times the GHB of a club? What kind of experiment is that? Where is that taking part at? That's to me a little bit terrifying also. So I kind of just tie that in there with this, with just actually the dimensional part of it as well. What's happening there with these water deaths? So I just want to throw that out there. Sorry if I went too far off topic.
No, I think that's wonderful. I mean, there's so many different types of stories that are out there. I mean, the one that sticks with me, and I've said this before on the show, is in his Missing 411 Canada book. There were two sisters and their friend is in Ontario. They were riding horses and they were riding back to the barn. And the one young girl says, let's take the shortcut. The other two said, no, let's take the way we came. We don't really know that way. And the girl who wanted to take the shortcut said, I'll race you. Well, the two others made it back to the barn. The problem is the other girl and the horse were never seen again. And the way I look at that is, if it's a kidnapper, it's going to be very difficult to steal a 1,500-pound horse, okay, or a 1,200-pound horse. It's going to be difficult to do that, okay? Horses just don't vanish. Yet, if she rode off into a portal, that would make sense to me. I mean, yeah, we can blame the aliens for it. Sure, why not? Maybe the fairy realm for opening up a hole in the floor that they fell into. I don't know. But to me, a portal, and a lot of these people who have, zero symptoms of depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, psychiatric problems, who just vanish without a trace, I really do believe the portal issue is what is causing it.
I was told by that gentleman at Sasquatch researcher, Tom Powell, he had told me that years ago. He said, if you're ever in the forest and you see shimmering lights, don't go into it. Get away from it, because that's a good way to come up missing. And, and taking that and transferring that to what our friend Cryptid Huntress, Jessica Jones, has talked about several times, her team going into that cube in the forest and then disappearing off infrared and everything else. And when she had came to my presentation at that conference, she had taken interest in the illustrations I had of the black cubes and black boxes I've seen on several different craft. You've probably seen one of them before too. And, the fact that you can actually contain consciousness mathematically and other things inside of a cube itself. And actually, when we're dealing with different universes or different dimensions, but especially different universes that will be based on different shapes than ours, our universe is based on the spin and on the spear. You get another universe that might be based on the spear, on the cubicle. And is that what we have here on board these craft, is a shape that is capable of transferring material from one universe, one dimension to another. So that's, food for thought, definitely.
Barry, we're going to have you back very, very soon, my friend, because this was just a top-notch show with you. And thank you so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight. Tell everybody where they can find your research.
A lot of my stuff is on YouTube. Check me out on YouTube under Barry Littleton. I'm also on Patreon, Barry Littleton on Patreon. My BarryLittleton.com website gives links to that, but YouTube is where you'll find a lot of my stuff. I'm on Facebook also. So.
Oh, man, we love you here, and we're definitely, I know whether it's Jessica or myself, we're going to get you back on very, very soon on Spaced Out Radio or Spaced Out on the weekends. And Barry, what a pleasure chatting with you. Thank you so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio. Absolute pleasure. Great show tonight, everyone. Great show. We continue it on with hour number 3 next. We're going to head to the swamp, where the swamp dweller has another spooky story for us. Then Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio is going to join us, and we're going to break down some cryptid history tonight for you. And, of course, Shirky Poo rounds it out with the news. Hour 3 of Spaced Out Radio is next. Great show, my friend.
Oh, cool. I was worried, man. I felt like I came up a little bit short what you were asking on the dinosaur stuff. I didn't have a whole lot of dinosaur stuff. I was like, man,
That's okay. It was awesome.
And I wasn't super familiar with Basago, and he was the president guy. I missed that one. I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, that's all right. You know what? Let's chat soon, brother, because I got some things I want to bounce off of you about my own experiences, and I'm curious to get your own your thoughts on it.
Be honored. No problem.
Let's do that.
Cool.
Let's do that.
You got it.
All right, my friend. I will let you go get some sleep.
Thanks for coming out.
I'm up for a couple more hours, definitely. Hey, thank you very much, and thank you, Dirty Filth. It's nice meeting you, and I think that those pictures would be those portals, definitely.
Thank you very much for joining with us.
Oh, thank you for having me. We appreciate it. Hey, guys, have a good night. Thank you.
Good night. All right, Dirty Filth, it's all yours for a couple of seconds here. I'll be right back, buddy.
Couple of seconds. That's like 2 seconds. And Dave's not back yet. Guess I'll have to cover him. I'm going to play music, so stern warning, Dave, at whatever time it is. 12:01 a.m. Mountain Standard. I'm doing a rambling, and if there's music and you get busted, I apologize. So, whatever. That was a good show. Barry is absolute beauty. But next, finish up the shorts. Then onto the inking. Holy. That's a little globby. I'm not very happy with this. See, the thing about watercolors, I can take this extra watercolor here and I can just slather it onto my board and I can use it later. It's basically cheating. It's like, yeah, anyways. We're almost ready for the most important part, which is the inking. It's my favorite part. A bit of color there, a little bit of color there. Hold on, I gotta turn off that garbage. Because apparently my microphone picks up the sound of what's on the computer. That makes absolutely 0 sense, but nonetheless, almost ready for the inking. I don't want to start doing it too quick. Just gonna add a little extra. The last little bit of details here. A little extra mustache and Science Bob. A little bit of crazy Science Bob hair there. Whoops. Just some touches that work just for me and how the artwork works, and that's the way she goes. I don't know. I think I'm just going to go for a little bit of blue nose. I was actually talking about my pal. With my pal today about that Dinosaurs cartoon back in the day. And they used to hand draw animation for all that digital stuff. Nonetheless, hopefully Dave's going to be here soon. Oh, he just messaged me. He said, sorry, I'm going to get a pizza. Dirty Filth has to do the rest of the show tonight, so the lie detector determined that was a lie. But we're on to the best part of it all. Everybody gets to see what it shows up to be.
I'd love to give spoilers, but I can't do it. I gotta move that water over there. Move that stuff there. Luckily, I got gargoyles to take care of this stuff for me. Alrighty. Yeah, we'll start with the biggest introduction here.
Hey, Pegleg Kenny, how you doing? Nice to see you. Thurston Howell III, Lowlands Pete, nice to see you guys. All right, I want to say a big thank you to Smithy, Kira, Chris, Lala, Co-Create Happy, Grant, YJ, Doug, Rex, and Dry Toast for the amazing super chats tonight. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. And I want to say a big thank you to our good friends who have given us a thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways. Here we go.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Kicking off the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you all with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Balbutiant. Balbutiant is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. And it is time once again where we head to the swamp. Our resident swamp dweller takes us on another journey of a spooky story.
Hi, Spaced Out Radio listeners. This is Swamp Dweller. It's time for your nightly dose of spookiness on the show. If you have an interesting encounter or a spooky story that you would like to share, be sure to submit them in at swampdweller.net. You can also find our YouTube channel at youtube.com/swampdwellerreads. Now, let's chill out, relax, and together, let's enter the swamp. I've been working as a park ranger for roughly 17 years. In all that time, I've had a few experiences I would deem strange and scary. The one I will share with you today is a little bit of both, mostly terrifying for me personally. You can call me Trent, by the way. I believe this was 2009. My team and I were working to clean the area and prepare it for the summer camping season here in Colorado. Now, it's a national park, so there's a ton that we have to do, but we like to go around and do cleanup in our area, as you have to do because people don't bother, honestly. And quite honestly, it's one of those things that gets on my nerves. It isn't hard to clean up your trash, but anyway, that's a different tangent. It was getting late, and I volunteered to stay after that evening to make sure all the cleanup was done. The idea for me at least was to get as much done as possible while we still had light. It being summer soon, we had plenty of light compared to fall and winter when it gets dark earlier. It wasn't long before everyone was clocking out, and I told them all goodbye, and I'd see them on Monday. None of my crew worked with me on my weekend shifts, though we did have a few within the department itself who did. An hour goes by and then two, and before I know it, I'm so wrapped up in my task, and I look up and I realize I'm losing daylight. Thinking a little of this, I put myself in another gear and tried to get more done. In my mind, I figured I'd just be better prepared and leave less to do Monday. Also, I take great pride in my work, so I do everything I can no matter how large or small the task. It's a large part of what has led to the promotion I've been given, and it is something I still do to this day. It is not long before I realize the sun is about to set completely. I stop my work, pull out my flashlight, and prepare to haul my last garbage bag back to the station and drop it in the dumpster. As I'm wrapping things up, I hear a large growling sound. I immediately grab my bear spray as I recognize the sound I'm listening to. Turning around slowly, I see much that leaves me in shock and dread. It looks to be a black bear, but the problem is it is much more significant than any black bear I have ever seen or even known to exist. This thing has a large scar across its left eye and is staring at me, baring its teeth. Normally, I'd do something to make the bear think I'm more extensive and more significant than I actually am, but no amount of posturing will save me from this monstrosity. This thing looked to be 12 to 13. I didn't believe my eyes at first, but there was no denying it. The thing stood in the air, and I about pissed myself in fear. I wanted to run, but I knew running would only encourage it to give chase. I didn't exactly feel safe standing there, though, so I kept my eyes on this thing as I slowly backed away. The thing was, I had found myself far away from the trails and was quite a bit off the beaten track from the station. Usually, this isn't an issue as you don't normally run into a bear the size of a mountain on your travels around this area. But today, this was not the case. I'm sitting there thinking about what my next move might be. All the while, I'm slowly backing away. I know it isn't wise to stare this thing down, but there was no other way I was going to turn my back on this bear and run, or any other way to escape. I have my hand on my mace, and the other hand is holding on to the garbage. After an eternity, I am finally out of the sight of the bear. It appears to have just stared at me, but I'm worried that it was attracted to me because of the smell of the garbage. I'm sure it's nothing a bear would think twice about if it was hungry enough. And if I were the size of this thing, I'd be hungry all the time. After several minutes of watching the horizon and seeing nothing, I turn and start hauling my butt as fast as I can back towards the station. It is still quite a way off, but I figure if I keep moving, I'll get there in no time. While running, I suddenly hear a large stomping sound behind me. Looking back, it's the bear and it's coming in fast. I freak out and throw the trash bag I have off in a different direction. My hope was that it would distract it, just long enough for me to get away. But unfortunately, it ignored it entirely and kept coming for me. I am now forced to turn and stand my ground as there is no other way out of this. There's no way I'm going to outrun this thing. I stop, pull the bear mace off my belt, and prep to spray the hell out of this thing. It confronts me and we meet eye to eye again. It's only a few feet from me now, and to my shock, it seems very aware of what I'm ready to do. The look that this bear made it seem like it was calculating its next move. I've seen a lot of bears, and usually they'll scare off without too much trouble or even mind their own business entirely. This one, though, the look on its face just said that it was hunting, and I was on the menu. It seemed disturbingly intelligent, and as it stepped forward, I reacted in shock and I sprayed it in the face with the mace. The bear reeled back. I ran for my garbage bag, though looking back I'm not sure why I did that, and I continued my sprint toward the station's direction. I heard the terrifying roar I've listened to throughout my life, followed by an extensive but all too familiar stopping sound. I'm feeling my legs begin to give away from fear, and I tell myself, if you give out now, you're dead. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. So I gain the mental fortitude to keep pushing through and steady as I run. As I'm getting closer to the cabin, I feel the thing running up from behind me. I freak out and spin to see wherever it's at, tripping as I do so, falling on my butt. The thing had taken a swipe and left a deep claw mark in the tree where my head was only seconds before. I pray and spray the bear yet again. It thrashes about blindly, and during the thrashing and my struggle to get up, it hits my can of spray and dislodges it from my grip. It does this with enough force for my hand to fly back and hit the tree. I see blood and feel pain as my hand smacks the tree. Unsure if I've broken my right hand, I use my left hand to stand up. and yet again, for reasons I'll never be sure of, perhaps it's shock and some semblance of normalcy, I grab the trash bag with my left hand and turn and continue sprinting. The bear is roaring behind me, but it doesn't appear to give pursuit. It isn't long before I reach the main trail and can see the cabin in the distance. Terrified, I keep running. Soon enough, there is another roar. I am not ashamed to admit I peed myself a bit, followed by the familiar stomping of this bear. I freak out and keep telling myself, don't look back, don't look back, don't look back. I run with all the power and speed I can muster and have left to give, and I make it to the station. I open the door and slam it shut, locking it behind me. As I do, I feel the door's foundation shake as the bear seems to be banging against it. I barricade the door with some tables and whatever I can muster to move, and I immediately use the phone to call 911. The dispatcher answers, and I'm trying to explain where I am and my situation, and the dispatcher reassures me help is on the way. It doesn't take the police more than 5 minutes to arrive, but to me it felt like 5 hours. By the time they knock, I leap up in shock and terror at the sound. It is then that I remove the tables and slowly open the door. I am shaking as I try to explain the entire situation, and I feel tears involuntarily begin to fall down my face. Eventually, an officer sits with me, as does the sheriff, and then they try to take the time to calm me down. They ask if I need any medical attention, and I tell them no. They insisted anyways. They seem to see that I'm in shock, and I don't really feel much of the pain quite yet. I don't remember much of that part, but that's why they tell me that I need to go to a hospital. As I left the station, I remember looking back at the door and seeing a significant claw mark on our door. Now, I haven't seen this bear since that day. He hasn't turned up, and as far as I know, no one has been attacked by it. All that said, this is a situation that will stay with me for a lifetime.
Always be bear aware. Always be bear aware, no matter your environment. Thank you to the Swamp Dweller for coming on in and telling us another spooky, very realistic story. You never, ever want to be messing with bears. That is the truth. Head over to Swamp Dweller Reads on YouTube. And subscribers, listening to thousands of stories just like that. All right, let's head over to Super Duke. Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio is here, hanging on out with us. How you doing, my friend? Your hair is looking fantastic tonight.
Yeah, it hasn't rained in like 3 days, so it's not curly right now. Now I got the Ted Nugent thing going on.
I was thinking Michael Anthony from Van Halen.
I don't know who that guy is. You keep referencing him all the time.
Bass guitarist.
Oh, yeah, that old Van Halen. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, not Wolfgang. Not Wolfgang.
Wolfgang
But
Van
nonetheless, we're here for Duked Out Radio. So we come in a couple times a week to do the Cryptid Report. And I got to tell you, Duke, you got a tough time beating Jessica Jones on the weekend, who was remote viewing Albert Ostman.
Wow. Yep, I guess. Well, right now I'm working on next Sunday's show that I have to have done early because I'm going on research expedition this weekend, Thursday through midday Sunday. And this weekend show is Richard Doty, UFO guy. And he will not only be talking about his more than one encounter, but he will also be talking about the fact that he got to see the missing Patterson-Gimlin video.
No way.
Yeah, way. Plus actual picture from missing Patterson-Gimlin video.
Well, look at that. Would you look at that?
So that's all fun to look forward to.
I didn't know there was a missing picture.
There's a missing piece of video. It was never actually released to the public. And it's got an additional Bigfoot on it. Clearly moving, too. Yep.
My goodness. What
I
I would do
mentioned
to
this on your show a few months ago that somebody had that video and wanted to sell it. This is just another confirmation because Richard knows that person and has actually seen that video.
That is interesting. Very, very interesting right there, my friend. Wow.
Yeah, it's big news for all Patterson-Gimlin fans that have been studying that piece of video to the nth degree for the last 55 years. Here you go. There's potentially going to be more available for you to go study for the next 55 years. And it's not just Patty, it's a different one. And there's more than one in there. As Blaine Tyler already pointed out with his analysis, there's at least two more that are on each side of her. She's walking away from Roger off into the tree line. You can see one on each side of her that are sitting there waiting, like in case somebody's dumb enough to chase after her. Guess what's going to happen to them?
You never know. You never know.
Yeah. So anyway, this weekend we're going up to Coloma. We've been up to Coloma quite a few times. Been up there with Team Paranormal Portal from Brent's channel and some other researchers of paranormal type stuff. MCAT and Dan Pruitt and some other guys have been up there doing ghost research and stuff too. But we're just going to go up there and visit and commune with the Sasquatch that are up there. And there's, according to Robin, there's about a dozen of them that live up on top of that mountain. So I'm looking forward to going up there again. And one of the reasons we have to go up there again is because there was a picture taken by my team there a couple of years ago, which is now starting to make its rounds around the internet. And another channel actually picked it up. And they're a really cool channel, and they're trying to tie all the connections together and connect all the dots in between all the weird paranormal phenomenon. Ghosts, UFOs, portals, Bigfoot, aliens, everything. And one of the things that they were talking about was cloaking. And apparently one of the pictures we got is the best example they could find on the internet of a picture of something cloaking. And so that is what we have to do, is go up there and go to the exact same spot where we accidentally got that picture and shoot comparison picture. And if you want to see the original, it's over there on MeWe. I sent it to you so you can show it to people. Just download it and you're ready to go. There's actually two of them. The first one shows the original picture, and this was one of my friends was with me. We were right near where there was a whole bunch of old tree structures, and she was just a little bit upslope from me and had this weird feeling that something was watching her. So she turns around with her camera and just snaps a picture, doesn't see anything. And then she turns back again. And about 5 minutes later, we're down at the base of the hill looking at her pictures. And she's going, look at this picture. What is this? There's something really wrong with this picture. Yeah, no kidding. There's something really wrong with that picture. There's something bending the light right in the middle of that picture. And then when I got back, I took a closer look at it and I went, there seem to be two distortion fields here. Let me just draw a little red outline around both of them and see what we come up with. And it's even more disturbing because then it looks like a human-shaped or humanoid-shaped object reaching a limb out toward the person with the camera. And then I started looking at it more closely. And I didn't send Dave the crop of this one because it would be the third picture. But if you look closely over the upper left side of the light distortion, in the background, there's what appears to be a Bigfoot's head about 30 feet back there, peeking out from behind a tree, looking at what's going on while this is happening. And if it was, in fact, a Bigfoot bending the light around it, this would be the first example that anybody has ever captured on video or picture or anything like that, of not only a good example of them cloaking and bending light, but also that they're doing their counting coup thing, which we've heard about from the native tribes over and over and over again. That the Sasquatch count coup on humans, and part of their thing that they have to go through to be basically an adult is they have to go up and touch a human and count coup on them. We just talked about this the last time I was on, how the really stealthy natives would try and do the same thing. They go up and count coup on you without you even knowing that they were there. Well, apparently they think it's okay if you cheat and bend the light. But
cheat away.
Pretty mind-bending pictures. So what we got to do is, I know within a few yards of where she was standing when she took the pictures, I got to find the exact same spot. And it's my guess when I take it, we will not be able to include that entire field of view on one frame of film, because it looks to me like it's bending the whole scene. Like there's stuff over here on the side that's on there that shouldn't be there. And there was an additional picture that's even weirder looking, and it looks kind of like a split screen, like she's taking a picture over a big rock on one side, and on the other side, it's facing the bottom of the rock, which is impossible. But there it is on the picture. So we had these two really strange, anomalous pictures, and then we went back and looked at all the other pictures she had taken while we were there. And of course, Robin McCrae looked at them. And lo and behold, several of them, there was Bigfoot in the background that were, hiding behind the trees, peeking at us, off in the distance, watching us, that sort of thing. So apparently we had them just basically following us around, and one of them decided to come up and count coup on her. And she had enough psychic awareness to realize there was something behind her, and whirled around, just got a picture at the perfect moment. So Wolf Got Outdoors is the YouTube channel that actually used that picture, and they were referencing a whole bunch of different channels on YouTube, going through, this guy talks about this one shows this, blah blah blah. And apparently, much to my surprise, that was the best cloaking picture they could find, because I'm not like renowned for having all kinds of weird woo pictures, but apparently that was a good one.
Got any real spooky stories for us this week?
Well, actually, yes, I do have one story, and this one is a classic from the South, down in Louisiana. There's a gentleman who's just died here within the last few years. He was very active in the community for a few years, going around telling his story. And if you want the long, really awesome version of it, you can find it on the Sasquatch Chronicles channel. But this is the short version of Mike Woolley's encounter. I thought it was a feral human, Mike Woolley recounts the incident, arguably the strongest to occur during his time as an outdoorsman. I had heard about them and done some reading about them. Recalling the events of that December day in 81, Woolley soberly tells of something frightening that occurred in the Louisiana backwoods that changed his life. It was a beautiful day, a perfect day for a hunt. Woolley arrived at the deer stand located down an old logging road in an area he had hunted frequently, and parking his vehicle halfway down the road. This is an important point, and luckily for him, aiming it outward. He walked to the tree stand, climbed into it, and silently enjoyed the cool air of the day while waiting for signs of game in the area. After some time, the sound of an animal crashing through the brush caught his attention. Accompanying the sounds had been a small doe which darted directly toward his stand and nestled beneath it, breathless. Woolley initially thought the tired deer had been chased by a larger potential mate and waited eagerly for the buck to appear so it could be claimed. What appeared instead defied every concept of what should exist here in Louisiana or anywhere else. A tremendous humanoid covered in short hair appeared instead, headed directly toward the deer and Woolley's tree stand, seemingly unaware of the hunter resting in it above. The figure approached to just a short distance of 20 yards before it stopped and became alert to Woolley's presence, peered up at him, its face wrenching angrily. As far as Bigfoot, I thought there was something that only existed out in California. I thought that was something somebody made up to make money off of. Contrary to his previous feelings, Woolley watched the thing for several frightened moments, eventually raising his hunting rifle and observing the thing's face through the scope, though afraid to shoot anything because it looked so human. The face is too human, he said. The eyelashes, the teeth, the jaw structure, the forehead. The face was light brown, like it had a dark suntan, but I couldn't pull the trigger because something told me, this ain't right. It's not the right thing to do. The thing growled at Woolley, however, in a way that reminded him of a lion's roar, to which a loud whistle echoed from somewhere up the ridge, as though in response. The wild man became alert to this and appeared to respond with a similar whistle, then looked back at Woolley, who by now had chosen to take action. Leaping from the tree stand, he took off up the wagon road, attempting the closed short distance between his truck and the location where the strange and feral intruder had now begun to pursue him. Woolley made it to the truck and, turning to fire a warning shot, watched as the wood of a nearby tree splintered only feet from the approaching man-beast. In the story he tells you, it almost ran into the shot. It literally blew dirt and sawdust in its face. He then jumped in his truck and left, watching behind him as a second humanoid emerged from the brush and joining his initial pursuer to watch him as he sped away from his terrifying experience. Again, they're underplaying that. It was running down the road behind him, chasing, trying to catch him before he got in the truck.
Duke, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. You'll finish up your cryptid story when we return on Spaced Out Radio. Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio and the Cryptid Report continue right after this. All right, we're clear, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah, grab those two pictures for everybody so they can see them. That's some freaky stuff right there.
Where are they? I don't see them.
MeWe.
That would be why. What are we looking at here? Dookie Poo?
You're looking at the two pictures I just described at the beginning there. One of them with the object bending light around it, and the other one with the actual drawing of that I drew around the edge of the object of the distortion line.
Oh, that is weird.
And that's a cell phone picture, so this wasn't like something that got messed with after the fact. I was there when she took it. Within 5 minutes of her taking it, I got to see it on her phone. And she was going, "What the hell is this?" You know?
That is weird. How it's all clear here. It's all clear.
Show them both of them. That's the one that's got the distortion outline. I drew the outline around it so you can see what the shape of it is. It's even creepier. The first one, there you go. What the hell is that? So we got to try and find that exact spot and see what it looks like in real life without the light bending there. And my guess is it's going to take 2 or 3 pictures to cover that whole area.
True.
And that's really strange. If you look at the bottom of it, you can see that tree trunk that's laying on the ground, and it turns into firewood. Well, that's not firewood. That's a distortion there of the light that's making it look like it's multiple pieces of wood. That's the same tree trunk, and it continues across the screen going off to the upper right. That's all the same tree trunk.
That is so weird.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's where we're camping this weekend. Haunted ghost town with lots of Bigfoot hanging around in it. If you look carefully, right about in the middle of the screen, right in between those two tree trunks, there's a rock pile, and then there's a little tree trunk, and then there's a bigger tree trunk. And right in between the two tree trunks, there's a Bigfoot's face, that gray object. He's peeking.
Here?
Just about on it a little bit. Yep, just about on it. In between the two tree trunks, Dave. There's one tree trunk. There's the other one. Right in between them. Go down to the bottom.
Oh, right there. Oh,
right there. God. He's watching his buddy to see if he's going to get away with tagging that human and count coup on him.
Looks like a dog face.
It looks a lot scarier blown up. Then it looks like an alien face.
Oh, my. Oh, my.
He got big old huge eyes, and no, he doesn't have any snout on him.
Holy cow.
So there you go. Fun times in Coloma. Ghost hunting teams have been up there and freaked out. By the way, Robin looked at this picture, and she said at the upper right-hand side, there's 2 of them, and there's another one back behind the one that's sticking his head in between the trees looking in the wood line there. There's another one back in there. She could see their energy signatures. So there were several of them there following us.
Brutal. Very weird.
Yep.
Very weird, Super Duke.
There's a bunch of anomalies up there too, YJ. There's 2 standing stones up there. And when we had the paranormal research guys up there, they had all kinds of gear with them. And one of them was a detector for gamma ray bursts. And he walked up and stood in between the 2 standing stones for about 2 minutes. And within 2 minutes, he had 2 gamma ray bursts on that detector, which absolutely should not be happening. And they also know that gamma ray bursts sometimes are precursors or aftermath, or even, while it's going on, for portals opening and closing. So there could be some sort of portal thing that's connected to the standing stones up there too yet. That place is just ultra weird. And how many ghost towns do you know that have been abandoned twice? There's another weird fact about that. Who the hell abandons a town twice? There's something really bad going on there.
Right? Right? My goodness. All right, my friend, we got about 45 seconds. I want to say a big thank you to our super chatters tonight. Smithy, Kira, Chris, Lala, Co-Create Happy, Grant, YJ, Doug, Rex, and Dry Toast. Very much appreciate your love and support of Spaced Out Radio. And don't forget, after the show, give a thumbs up, thumbs down, leave a comment below. Let us know. It helps with the algorithms with YouTube to help us grow and get more and more subscribers and followers and listeners. And that's how you can contribute as well. And thank you to all the veterans out there who have tuned us in, not only tonight, but throughout the years. We very much appreciate it. You always have a safe home here, just like everyone does in our chat room on Spaced Out Radio. So thank you very much. Here we go with the final half hour. We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate you all tuning us on in. I want to remind you that if you missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with our good friend Super Duke Sullivan from World Bigfoot Radio, where we take a look at cryptid stories from around North America. Duke, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, it's always a blast being here with you, Dave. You're my favorite show. You know that.
Oh, you're one of mine too, my friend. I love your show and all the great knowledge that you have on Sasquatch. And for me, somebody who's still quite learning about the subject, I tell you, man, I go to your channel because if I need to learn something, that's where I'm going to learn it. I already know it.
Thanks, brother. I got to give a couple quick shout outs here. One is to Peg Leg Kenny, who is the captain of the Good Ship GIMP group investigating mystery primates, who provided for me the first story that I was reading tonight. And also to Robin, who probably isn't hearing this because she is out in the woods in Michigan doing a Bigfoot field research with a film crew right now, which she has actually been doing every night for about the last week. And they keep doing it because things keep happening. Maybe kind of probably because Robin's there, but she keeps doing that thing where she's like, you guys, there's one right over there. And then they get it with the infrared, go, oh my God, there's something over there. Well, yeah. You got Robin with you.
Nice.
So
Very
anyway,
nice.
the rest of the story about Mike Woolley, and this really is an epic story. And as we were talking about here at the end, he was bailing out of there, running as fast as he could. He had one chasing him through the woods. It was on his left-hand side. And right before he got to the truck, he knew it was going to catch him because it was getting closer to him. And he had gotten a jump on it and got a good start, but it was still catching up to him. And that's when he spun around with the rifle and fired around in its general direction. And as he did, he shot a tree that it was just passing behind. And as it was coming out the front of the tree, the report from the rifle blew a whole bunch of the wood off the tree into its face. And that kind of temporarily blinded and slowed that one down a little bit. So then he figured he had enough time to open up the vehicle and get in. And as he was jumping into it is when he noticed there was a second one that he hadn't even heard that was actually running right behind him down the trail. That had been the other one that whistled, who had been a little bit further yet behind, but that one was still coming on full speed. So he jumped in his truck and bailed the hell out of there. And then he didn't come back for a good 2 weeks. He finally convinced one of his friends to go help him. He had one of those tubular metal deer stands out there, and he wanted his buddy to go out there with him and help him retrieve it. And he didn't really explain to his buddy why he wanted him to go out there and retrieve it, but he wasn't going out there by himself. So he got his toughest friend, very heavily armed. They went back out there. When they got to where the tubular steel deer stand was connected to the tree, they couldn't take it off the tree because something had wound it around the tree like a Christmas cane. I mean, it was like tight, bent right to the tree, several wraps around it. It was never coming off again, and he weren't using it anymore. So then he had to explain to his buddy what happened to his deer stand on the way back out again. That was another fun story. But that was the Mike Woolley story. Now, another thing that I could share with you guys tonight, and this is up to you, Dave, if you guys want to hear it, because you brought this up before. What's the deal with dogs and Bigfoot?
Right. Yeah, let's get into this.
Well, Tom Burnett and Rob Riggs have some theories on this one, and they expounded at quite a good length on this, so we'll be lucky if we can even get through the whole thing. But they also say, do dogs provide a clue, an important and little recognized clue to understanding the mystery of Bigfoot, as well as the source of validation for the reality of the creature's existence, may lie in the antipathy the creatures seem to have for dogs, and in the abject terror with which dogs regard Bigfoot. An experienced dog handler in the old Southern hunting tradition, Tom has seen his dogs react in a puzzling manner to the beast. Some dogs that would aggressively pursue both bears and mountain lions without hesitation would cower, whimper, and hide under the porch when they heard the eerie howls of the unknown hairy creatures in the nearby woods or smelled their scent on the wind. Tom's greatest fears were confirmed when some of his dogs went missing, and he found their remains in the woods around his home, the bones picked clean of flesh and only the paws not eaten. In several subsequent apparently mock attacks, he didn't know whether the beast would charge him and tear him apart limb from limb, just as they had his prized dogs, or if they just intended to warn him off their territory. Rob was told the story, which further illustrates the point about how dogs regard Bigfoot with fear by a caller during one of his appearances on the Art Bell Show. And the caller, who wouldn't give his name for security reasons, said he was a soldier stationed at a large army base in North Carolina. He was an MP assigned to duty of patrolling the base's perimeter during the late night and pre-dawn hours. And man, you hear a lot of reports of these guys that patrol around these woods and military bases having run-ins with them. Well, anyway, he says part of the base extends well out into the heavily forested and hilly area. And one night while on patrol there, he came across a dog. The dog seemed disturbed. It was howling, growling, and acting very strangely. It occurred to the soldier the dog might be rabid, and he couldn't tell whether it had seen him or not, and whether it was a threat to attack him. Just as he was trying to make a decision on what to do about the dog, quote, a huge ape-like animal jumped down from a tree, grabbed that dog, broke its back, and literally tore it apart, ripping its legs off in front of my eyes, unquote, he said. The ape either did not see the soldier or paid him no mind and vanished quickly into the darkness of the surrounding woods. But why would the huge ape kill the dog? By all accounts, dogs are terrified of Bigfoot. Well, that might be a reason. Research files are brimming with accounts of dogs slinking away in fear from encounters with Bigfoot, with the hair on their backs sticking straight up and their tails tucked between their legs, wanting no part of the beasts. Cases of dogs being eaten by Bigfoot also seem to be the exception rather than the rule. Could there be another reason Bigfoot would kill them? Well, the Venerable Grover Krantz commented in his book, Big Footprints, A Scientific Inquiry into the Reality of Sasquatch, quote, dogs are universally reported to be terrified when in the vicinity of a Sasquatch. This has long been reported by the major writers, and I have run across dozens of such reports myself. He goes on to point out the Sasquatch does not even need to be in sight for dogs to react to sound, smells, tracks, or any other evidence that a Sasquatch might be close by. Furthermore, he writes, quote, this fear is common to all breeds of dogs, both sexes, from ratters to bear hunters, from lapdogs to bloodhounds. Even the most devoted companion dogs have refused to follow their masters in the direction of one of these creatures. Krantz speculates further that the frantic fear reactions of dogs to Bigfoot might be produced by a pheromone contained in the stench of the creature. Apparently, the poor dog on the army base was drawn to the treed ape out of instinctive curiosity. Its bizarre behavior likely came as a result of it picking up the creature's scent, and it could not get away fast enough when it realized too late it had caught up with more than it could handle. But if the dog was reacting out of fear and it posed no threat to the ape in the tree, why would the ape kill the dog? Again, Krantz offers some insight. He notes that there are many stories of Sasquatches going out of their way to kill dogs, even though, as he says, the largest dog would pose no threat to any Sasquatch beyond infancy. Why then would any Bigfoot go out of its way to kill dogs if the dogs pose no physical threat? Krantz speculates that there must be some conflict between these two species that has no obvious significance in our present state of knowledge. This conflict between dogs and Bigfoot might not be obvious if we consider dogs only within the context of their most common modern functions as pets and companions of humans and participants in those ridiculous dog shows. But the relationship between dogs and humans is an ancient one. Dogs were one of the first animals to be domesticated. Until very recent times, dogs served more utilitarian purposes in their relationship with mankind than they do today. From time immemorial, we have put them on watch to guard our domiciles, villages, and barnyards, and they have helped in tending herds of sheep, goats, and cattle. Could it be because of the relationship dogs have with human beings that Bigfoot go out of their way to kill dogs? It's easy to imagine Bigfoot would not want a dog to give away its presence if it wanted to make a quick meal from the easy pickings of a herd of domesticated livestock. Is it because dogs would alarm humans to their presence that they go out of their way to dispose of dogs? Well, there's one other function dogs have traditionally served for humans that might be a clue of an even subtler source of the Bigfoot's antipathy toward them. From ancient times, dogs have helped human hunters track down and flush out game. It was noted earlier how many a posse or search party has gone out in hot pursuit of a Bigfoot, only to come up empty-handed. In more than a few documented cases, these organized searches set out with packs of trained hunting dogs or police bloodhounds. These searches have a consistent pattern in which some of the dogs would refuse to follow the trail entirely, others would quickly come back but were completely cowed, and some would not come back at all, or were later found to have been literally torn apart. But in every case, the dogs lost the Bigfoot's trail and the Bigfoot simply vanished. Or did it? Perhaps it vanished to human eyes, but not to dog eyes, and that is the reason Bigfoot make the extra effort to do away with dogs. A dog's sense of smell is known to be far more sensitive than humans, and a dog can hear frequencies of sound inaudible to us. Perhaps this applies to sight as well. Dogs may be able to see the creatures even when they're undetectable by human sight, or dogs may not be able to see them, but with their acute sense of smell and hearing, they know the Bigfoot are there, even when they can't see them. In either case, this may be what freaks dogs out so much about Bigfoot. A confrontation with Bigfoot is a confusing contradiction of sensory input for dogs and sends them into a panic. Tom's experience with a number of his own dogs independently corroborates Krantz's observations and constitutes serious objective evidence that he is dealing with an unknown predator of both his property and his adjoining neighbor's land. Dogs supposedly do not have imagination like human beings and are not subject to deluding themselves about what their keen senses tell them. For this reason, the reaction of dogs is probably a better indicator of the reality of these mystery primates than our human perception is. How much time do we have left here?
We got about 4 minutes.
The following first-person account from Tom's field notes document his observations regarding his dogs over a period of several years and what he came to conclude from them. He says, "Today I walked the same trip as last week, and they snuck up behind me whistling like birds, shaking trees, and throwing one large rock. My dogs became terrified, and so did I. I heard a muffled sound, almost like a radio transmission over a walkie-talkie. My dogs went crazy. I've never heard such a noise. I was a little afraid. My dogs were spooked, and so was I, a bit. I went inside and slept next to a gun. If it ever tries to come in the house, I swear I'll shoot it. I hate to say this, but it's true. Again, things are getting weird. When I come home from work, it seems I can almost always hear something on the mountain shaking a rhododendron or banging on a big tree. This has happened almost every night for a week. My dogs go crazy when they hear it. Last night I lay on the deck and my dogs began to bark. I could hear brush shuffling and trees being bent and let go on the mountain. This is always such a strange sound, and it's also a bit frightening because you never know when you're going to hear it. My dogs are at a loss when they hear it because they react with a stupor. They don't really know what to do." Excuse me. One day I found a small black Labrador retriever puppy, about 9 weeks old, beside the main highway. Somebody had put him out. He was as cute as a button, and I'm a sucker for abandoned dogs, so I put him in a small cage under the backside of my home for safekeeping until I got home. I laid down on the couch in my living room and began to fall asleep. I always let Junior, my black chow, sleep near me in the den, and at about 5:30, Junior bolted and began to bark. Half awake, I opened the sliding glass doors and sicked my dog on whatever it was. He attacked, and I heard a high-pitched scream like a horse whinnying, but with the vocal strength of a lion's roar. I was terrified, and I could not go back to sleep. Junior ran back up the stairs to the deck and pawed the sliding glass door wanting in. My dog was scared beepless, and so was I. The next day, I built a dog pen around 3 oak trees in the backyard and put a doghouse there by the older trees. I put the small dog there thinking it would be safe for sure. About 4:30 the next morning, I heard a large tree crashing down, part of it hitting the front of my house. I jumped out of bed screaming and ran outside. A huge black form ran across the backyard and into the creek. A huge oak laid on top of the doghouse. The fence is torn down, and part of the tree laid on my front porch. My black lab was gone, and I've never seen him again.
Do you think that let me ask you this. Do you think that Sasquatch is attacking dogs because he's annoyed with them, because he doesn't like them, or maybe because the dogs are giving away his area with their barking, their whining, their complaining, their everything?
Well, that's the point the authors are making here, that they think most of it stems from the fact that they work as our security guards and let us know when something's lurking around the property and stuff. And that really POs the Bigfoot. They like to be ultra stealth and be able to get away with going wherever they want. Yes. And especially if they want to raid your garden or take some of your livestock or something. And anyway, they finally conclude here, despite the fact that most large breeds of dogs are not afraid of any wildlife known to be native in North America, there's no doubt that something in the North Carolina Smoky Mountains at least terrorizes them and sends them into an uncharacteristic panic. Cases of dogs being eaten by Bigfoot seem to be the exception rather than the rule. Could there be another reason? The Bigfoot's ability to apparently vanish might well result from their employing an extraordinary means of camouflaging themselves beyond those we have already considered, which makes them even less vulnerable to human detection. And the reason they have such a sense of urgency to destroy dogs is dogs can either see through their camouflage or use their other senses to detect the Bigfoot's presence. Although dogs may not pose a direct threat, they give away Bigfoot's location to the only other animal that poses any significant threat to these ancient hairy guys, man.
Wow. Super Duke, tell everybody where they can find World Bigfoot Radio.
Come on over and find me on every decent video platform, and one of them that's kind of lousy and crappy. And I also have support groups on MeWe and Facebook. You can find me on MeWe at World Bigfoot Central and on Facebook at Montana Bigfoot Project and the World Bigfoot Radio support group, which will tell you when my shows are on. And don't miss them this Sunday, big show with Richard Doty.
Always appreciate you, Super Duke, coming on in and helping us on out. Class guy all the way around, Super Duke. For World Bigfoot Radio, let's get to Shirky Poo's news, shall we?
What time is it? It's time for Shirky Poo's news!
All right, let's head over to the news where Shirky Poo has us all caught up. A man who rapped about robbing ATMs has been arrested while allegedly robbing a bank in Houston. 30-year-old Littleton Riley was arrested at a Motel 6 in Dixon, Tennessee, and the Nashville Metropolitan Police said 3 other people were arrested as well. Police have accused 2 suspects of telling an ATM technician to not do anything stupid and hand over the money. Yeah, that goes with par for the course. They also allege that the officers were able to track down the suspects because one of their getaway cars was rented from Hertz. The FBI is investigating the matter, and the group is facing federal charges. Riley, who raps under the name 213 Jug God, allegedly made a song titled Make It Home about jugging ATMs out of state. Well, if that doesn't give you away, I don't know what will. I just don't know what will. All right, let's see what else we got here. How about this? You know, Dumbo is supposed to be an elephant, but in Pakistan, a goat farmer said a recently born baby might be a new world record after her ears measured at nearly 19 inches. Muhammad Hassan Nareyo of the Nareyo Goat Farm in Sindh said the baby goat named Simba was born July 5th, and Nareyo imminently noticed her unusually long ears, which literally drag on the ground while the animal walks. Nareyo said Simba is a Nubian goat, a breed known for their long ears, but her ears are even long by Nubian standards, possibly owing to a genetic mutation. The farmer said Simba is in good health, and he believes she could end up as a Guinness World Record holder when she reaches full size. And let alone she won't have any hearing problems. You know, there are very few times in life where I question sanity, but this is one of them. You know the old saying that love has no bounds? Well, it applies to this lady. Why? She fell in love with a rag doll. No, we're not talking the Aerosmith song. Yep. Marivoni Roca Moraes found her soulmate in a life-size doll she now calls her husband, and the pair have even gone on to have a rag doll baby. The 37-year-old from Brazil said her mom made her a rag doll named Marcello after she complained about being single and having no one to dance with. Little did she realize it would be love at first sight. Now, after a few months of allegedly dating this rag doll, she fell pregnant. And they decided to tie the knot before the newborn arrived in a ceremony that was attended by 250 people. Unsurprisingly, the birth was a painless one, with Marivoni claiming it took just 35 minutes. It was a wonderful day for me, very important, very emotional. He is a man I've always wanted in my life. Married life with him is wonderful. Marivoni, who probably needs some psychiatric help, said he doesn't fight with me, he doesn't argue, and he just understands me. Marcello is a great, faithful husband. At least they gave him a high-quality mustache, and all the women envy him. When my mom made Marcello, he first introduced me to him, and I fell in love with him. It was love at first sight. And then they went and had a baby rag doll. By the way, Marivoni does confirm that Marcello did not use a condom when she fell pregnant and even gained weight as she eagerly awaited the new arrival. And they welcomed a doll child named Marcelino into the world following a pain-free birth on May 21st. Seriously, people, you cannot make this stuff up. You cannot make this up. She needs help. And the worst part about it is her mother is playing along with it. I don't believe it. Thank you to Shirky Poo for the news. Thank you to Super Duke for the Cryptid Report. Swamp Dweller for the great stories. And a fantastic show with Barry Littleton tonight. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music from Spaced Out Radio. Rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight, YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. I know you're out there somewhere. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, yeah, we got room for them too. Good night. Super Duke. Super Duke.
Super Dave.
How you doing,
And I like you a lot better as a talk show host than when you used to do all that kind of stunt work and you were Super Dave.
Yeah, I know.
That was so dangerous, all the blowing up all the time and stuff. Much safer going out doing Bigfoot research.
Hey, Zune and River Dogma, how you doing?
Hey, Zune.
I got just a blistering headache right now.
Tombstone. Love that username. You got a bad ripping headache on there, Dave?
Well, you know why.
Why?
Just because what happened in the chat room earlier.
Oh, that. Okay, yeah, I missed his comment, so I don't know what he said exactly, but must have been quite the douche remark considering the reaction.
Oh, it was. It was. And you know what? The worst part about it is, Duke, and I don't even care. I'll say this publicly. I erased the comment. I can go back and get it. I don't need it or whatever.
I doubt anybody does.
Yeah. I'm not even going to get into the comment because I was thoroughly disgusted by it. But,
Well, you have totally no need to make excuses. I mean, as far as that goes, I just ban people at the drop of a hat myself. So
you know what bugs me about it is there's going to be people who come out of that thinking I'm the cancel culture asshole for doing the right thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And look, people, I vote conservative. Don't play the game with me that I'm a cancel culture guy, because I am far from a cancel culture guy. But if you're going to be dropping racial terms and
racial
overtones,
slurs, yeah, that's not that ain't cool anywhere.
I don't care who you are, you're gone.
Decidedly uncool in all fields of endeavor. That's caveman stuff right there.
I hate banning people. I hate it with a passion. But there are times when it is called for, and I don't regret doing it. When I think it was Evan who pointed out the comment because I didn't see it. And then when I went back and I was like, oh my God.
I'm glad I missed it.
Yeah.
It's a little different on my channel. We get, about every other episode at least, we'll get one or two trolls showing up just for the express purpose of causing trouble. So we have a bunch of gunslingers in my chat room that really hate trolls. They're all mods, and they usually take them down before I even see what they say. Sometimes I'm the first one.
Yeah.
You got a very, very polite chat room. You hardly ever have any problems in here.
I know. It sucks when it does happen. And it sucks when it's somebody who you like, But I mean, this just goes to show, man. You think you know people. From a just seeing them almost every night in here.
Yeah. And usually on, a minorly perverted but acceptable behavior level.
Yeah.
No, I know what you mean. Yeah, and it's possible he was just like dead drunk and being stupid or something too, but too bad that's still unacceptable behavior.
Yeah, well, I know we did the right thing. But that will never be tolerated in our room. That type of vulgar behavior and commentary.
Speaking of commentary, let's comment on the positives of tonight. Your guest was awesome. Barry
Oh.
kicks ass, man. He
Barry-
has such a multiplicity of knowledge on a myriad of different topics that you can just about throw anything at him and he'll have something interesting to say about it.
Oh, he was phenomenal. Phenomenal. That's the type of guest where literally I would love to do like a 6-hour power show.
Because he could actually do it, right?
Oh. So smart. So smart.
Yep, I love guests like that, especially when I agree with like at least 90% or more of everything that they're saying. It's like fun for me. Oh, good. Somebody that's done a ton load of research.
Yeah, he brings that high quality woo too.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't bring that cheap Brute 33 type woo.
Brute 33.
No.
The white port malt liquor woo. That's the kind of stuff you don't want. You want the high grade stuff.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, you want that woo fed to you. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
You
the
want it fed.
champagne of woo.
Yeah.
Don't want any low grade woo. You got to have the champagne of woo.
Yep.
So never do anything halfway. Never undertake a vast project with a half-vast mind.
Hi, gorgeous Rose Demaray. How are you?
Is this the second time you had Barry on?
Jessica had him on.
Oh, okay, that's where I saw him before. Yeah, he was great on there too.
Yeah, I had wanted to have him on for years. And finally, when I heard him on Jessica's show, again, and I was just like, oh my God, like, how good is this man? How smart is he? How knowledgeable is he? And, you know what? I love people like him, Duke, and I'll tell you why. And you're much the same way, okay, is you buy the story, but you're still skeptical enough to understand that there is going to be flaws in it, but you don't hold the flaws against the research. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Nobody's perfect. Everybody's human. You know, even the best scientists make mistakes, and sometimes, and that just goes with the territory. You got to be able to. That's the nice thing about having multiple people doing research on the same thing, because you can look at what all of them are doing and draw conclusions from that rather than just from one isolated case. And so, things that are atypical will tend to stand out once you've got this whole field to look at, and you can eliminate those things as weird oddities that aren't probably part of what's going on. Hugely. And that's what a lot of the Bigfoot and cryptid research thing isn't so much like identifying what we're dealing with. It's eliminating what it isn't. It's eliminating what it isn't doing. So that gives you a much clearer idea of what it is doing or is capable of doing.
Oh, I fully agree, dude. Fully agree.
And you learn new things along the way, too. It's like everybody that wants to separate the ghost and aliens and Bigfoot and put it all into different little boxes and different categories. And, well, these things overlap. I've heard like 2 or 3 cases like this now, and I just got confirmation on one in Coloma, too, actually. I was talking to Robin about how there was a team of ghost researchers over in her neck of the woods, because there's an old abandoned house about 3 miles away from her. It's out in the woods, and nobody's been there for decades. And they thought it looked spooky. They wanted to go check and see if there was ghosts there and stuff. So they went back there. And after they were out, she talked to them, and they said, yeah, we got ghost activity. We got, voice phenomenon recorded and all kinds of stuff. She was just like dumbfounded, because she's like, I've done a reading on this house before. There's nothing out there. So she went over and checked it out again, and sure enough, there's still nothing there. So then she got really suspicious. And she used her abilities to mind speak with the local Sasquatch and asked them if any of them are over there. Well, the guys with the weird boxes were over there playing around in the old abandoned house. And all of them said no, except for one. And about 3 hours later, she got the one that wouldn't give her an answer to admit that he had been there. And she asked him what he was doing. And he said he was making voices because they wanted to hear voices on their boxes. So he was making voices appear.
Oh, Jesus.
So unfortunately, there's an overlap going on there. And I found out the same thing had happened with the Paranormal Portal team when they were up in Coloma, because I asked Robin to ask the ones up there, what was going on with that. And she's done a read on Coloma herself. She said, yeah, that place is very haunted. And there are things living in the old abandoned mine. Don't go in there. But part of the phenomenon that the Paranormal Portal guys were experiencing was, again, the same thing. The Bigfoot feeling sorry for them and going, oh, they want to make voices appear. Okay, what make voices appear for? She likes to say they have a wicked sense of humor, and that's part of, like they think that's funny. That's really funny. Oh, they think it's
it is funny. That's the thing. It is funny.
Well, I gotta admit, I admire their sense of humor, but don't scare the humans and make them think there's haunted, spooks running around in that old abandoned building when there's nothing there. You goofballs.
Holy cow.
And it makes me wonder how much they understand our psychology and how much they do that stuff on purpose, because you hear a lot of this stuff from down south where it's like, oh, we don't go out to the old Marshall farm anymore. Why not? It's haunted. How do you know it's haunted? We hear blood-piercing screams and shrieks late at night and horrible roars and stuff coming from over there. It must be spooks or something. Is the building still standing? Oh, yeah. Yeah, the barn's still standing, too. The barn's still standing. Yeah. Yeah, we don't go in there. It's got a terrible smell in it. I think I have an idea of who's making those weird noises and hanging around in that barn. And it's probably not a ghost, although they probably really like the idea that you think it's a ghost, so you're staying away from there. They might actually encourage that. They might make you think there's big ghosts there or something, and big black scary ghosts that are 10 feet tall and look like big black shadows at night and growl at you and stuff.
Yes. Unbelievable.
Well, I wouldn't have believed it myself until we started getting confirmation from, different quarters that they were actually up to this kind of crap. Sneaky little fuckers, or sneaky giant fuckers.
I got to get a hold of Robin and get an update on my...
on your area and what's going on over there?
Yeah.
According to her, it sounds like you got a good spot over there. You got a good group, and they're not very aggressive, and they're not against the idea of having humans over there. So that's really ideal to start off with.
Let me go to YJ Overlander here. He sent me a video.
Is that the one where they're driving along and it's pacing them in the woods?
It was
it's like off to the right-hand side or left-hand side of the vehicle, down a ditch in the woods running.
Oh, this is the one with the ATV where the yes, I did see it, YJ. Guy has an ATV, he's going down, and the Sasquatch seems to cross in front of him.
Oh, okay, I don't think I've seen that one.
Let me see if I can find it.
The one I saw, he was filming the driver and they were telling a joke or something, and there was one in the background running along in the tree line, keeping pace with them as they're whipping along on this quad. And man, if that was a guy in a monkey suit running through the woods like that, he deserves a medal.
What, hey, YJ? What's your Twitter handle? I know the video you're talking about here. I just don't want to play it off another YouTube channel. Maybe I will. Who cares? ATV sees Sasquatch.
It's not that easy to tell, YJ. There's some pretty good hoaxers out there too, trying to pull people's legs.
I think it's this one. Bear with me here.
That's why we have Thinker Thunker to help us, because he can think and thunk about whether they're real or not, and then tell us. I love his channel.
That's a truck. Yeah, this isn't the one.
Patrick Noble, yes, I have. I absolutely love his channel, and I want to get Robert on my show for an interview here shortly. He's another one of those guys like Blaine Tyler that can go out and actually get pictures of them all the time.
Some people just have a ton of luck.
Well, some people have just got a lot of skill. They've been doing it for a long time. Another one up there at Sasquatch, Randy Brisson, who's been doing it for like 20, 30 years. He actually provided some of the samples for the Melba Ketchum's DNA study. And he's gotten to the point where he doesn't even care if people believe him or not. He just goes out about once a week and does a walk around with his camera, and pretty often he gets something too.
He's never returned my call.
Randy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't get him on my show either. He's one of those people that just doesn't want to do shows. He doesn't care anymore. He's been at it for too long.
Yeah.
More or less doing it to amuse himself at this point, because he's gone through the whole thing with the whole community and all the trolls, and it drives a lot of really talented researchers to just either quit or to quit sharing anything with the public, one or the other.
Yeah.
The only reason I keep doing it is because I like people's heads exploding. That's always funny. And then, of course, the trolls, when their heads explode, that's extra funny. That's one of my main motivational factors, watching trolls' heads explode.
On Dustin.
And one of my friends down in Louisiana got quite the epic track cast here about a week ago. And one of her friends found it on the property and cast it and sent it to her. And there's activity on that property all the time, so it's not that much of a surprise they would get one. But that was a big track for Louisiana, 21 inches long. So really big boy running around down there.
Hold on, I just got the link from YJ.
Yeah, and some of the stuff they show over there is definitely legit. They just kind of they're doing their best to try and vet things and make sure they're legit before they put them up.
Hold on. Let me just hold on, guys. Before I do that, I just want to quickly do my downloading here.
Right on, Patrick. Isn't he awesome? That was great getting to spend three days with him up in the Sapphire Mountains here, hanging out with the Sasquatch up here.
Who's that?
William Lunsford.
He's
been on your show before. Oh, he's amazing. He didn't even spend that much time out in the field anymore, and he's still like every 6 months he's gotten up to do another hour-long show. Well, here's all the latest stuff that I got.
1 second here.
Yeah, he's awesome. I should be able to get Caveman back on my show again soon. He's always a fan favorite, and he's trying to get all of his internet and computer issues straightened out. So
here's the video. So this is being put on for educational purposes only.
And you always have to tell them which great channel to go to check out the.
Yeah, if you want to check this out, go to Bigfoot's Testimony channel.
There you go. I don't think I've seen. Oh yeah, this is an older one. Yeah. Runs across from right to left here shortly. Or no, well, there you go, left to right. He stops pretty abruptly, and going back the other way.
All right.
That's a very believable reaction from the driver.
See, what bugs me is the way it runs. It's running very human there.
Yep, looks like a person.
That's a human stride.
Yeah. I'd say guy in a monkey suit if I had to make a bet on it, just from that little look.
Here we go. There it is. Doesn't look natural. Thank you, Bigfoot people. Appreciate you.
Looks like guy in monkey suit. All proportions conform to those of a human, not a Bigfoot. And the one where there's one upriver from them and they're cruising around on the ATVs and see that one. Yeah, I'd be willing to bet that one is probably legit. One of the better, easier ways to tell if any of this stuff is real or not is that you can't fit a human into a suit that's shaped like a Bigfoot because their body proportions are different. Their forearms are longer than ours, and their shins are shorter than ours. And there are no humans with those body proportions. So you can look at the suit and just tell if it's got human body proportions, it's not a Bigfoot. The little ones, the really young ones, are closer to human body proportion. But by the time they get up to like our size and bigger, no, they're not even, they don't look like us.
Duke, I'm going to go for a quick, a little bit of man time here while I go to the bathroom. I'll be right back. I know you can command the audience.
All right. We'll answer some viewer questionnaires. If anybody's got any viewer questions at this point, just fire them on into the chat room there. And I will do my best to try and answer whatever amazing questions the amazing chat room comes up with. And I never get a chance to say this, but you guys are a great chat room. Dave has one of the best chat rooms out there. There's very few shows that I go and hang out on that have chat rooms this good. Although I got to say, Night Terrors has got an amazingly good chat room. That's a great channel. If you guys like the same kind of content Dave puts out, but he does a little bit different format where he's like solo guy and he surfs around the internet and shows you all different kinds of articles and short videos and stuff that he's pulled up on whatever given subject he's talking about that night. It's a really cool show. And he's a fan of my show too, so that's why I'm promoting him. Night Terrors. It's been on for a long time. He's actually probably got the best video on manticores I've ever seen on the internet. It's only like 8 minutes long, and it's like, dude, where did you dig up this information? This is really great stuff, you know. Tunnel systems in Austria. Tunnel systems in Austria made when? There was lots of them made in World War II. Jonathan, you'd have to ask Robin about that one. I don't know much of anything about it one way or the other. I know there's people that talk about that they can turn into orbs and back again and stuff, but yeah, I have not seen that happen. I don't recall ever actually seeing an orb in any of the Bigfoot areas that I've been in. Any word on Glag lately? Not recently, Mr. Lurks. The last time we heard from him, he was just fine, and so was the rest of his family. Northwest British Columbia. I'd say the main concern you have there is bears, YJ. You always have to watch out for the bears and the dogs, and of course mountain lions and stuff. Again, like we were just talking about earlier tonight, the main issue they have with dogs is if the dog is like giving away their presence and they want to sneak around for some reason, and they get upset about it. Chris, 11,000-year-old tunnels. There's a whole tunnel system all over Europe that they're just uncovering because of satellite mapping, ground penetrating radar now. And some of these are just ridiculously gigantic and really old. They found ones that may stretch from Scotland all the way to Turkey. So there's gigantic ancient tunnel systems, and they're not sure who made them. And yeah, they are like 11, 12,000 years old. So this may have been at some point where there was like bad juju going on the surface, and humans had to either live underground or had to have underground systems to move around, so they weren't on the surface getting killed by what? We don't know. Electrical activity in the air when they're around. You might want to refer to the episodes I did, Jonathan, with Bigfoot in Germany, Robert Boston, where he used to carry an EM meter around with him and stuff when he was doing research, and that thing would fire off ridiculous readings sometimes. And he's out in the woods. There is no electrical anything out there doing anything. Yep, Zune, I agree. Keep your dog on a short leash. Just keep an eye on them. And they're helpful out there too, because not only will they tend to let you know if there's any dangerous predators getting nearby, but if they start acting like really freaked out, well, there might be Bigfoot or other cryptids around. So that's a good warning sign too. Yeah, usually bears will run away, just not because they're afraid of the dog, because they hate the noise. It bothers them. I think it hurts their ears maybe, and that could be one of the things with Bigfoot too, that they don't like about the dogs is the noise. They have very sensitive hearing, so it's possible. Yeah, well, YJ, you don't have a boring yard.
Hey, where YJ lives, he has a hell of a lot more wild animals booting around than I do here, man.
I got a couple bear in his yard, and he said he got a swamp mastiff there just before the snow melted a few months ago. That's a funny looking dogs you got up there, Dave. Swamp mastiffs. What do you call them? Moose?
Moose. Yep.
We were just talking about the tunnel systems under Europe they were recently discovering that are 11, 12,000 years old, and they go for ridiculous long distances. What's the one? Darren Kuyu, where they got the whole underground city there. That they accidentally, somebody was digging a new section on their basement and broke through a wall into this ancient underground that held like 20,000 people. They've been doing research over in that area, and they found 2 more of these ancient underground cities over there that they haven't really talked very much about. But beyond that, they all seem to be connected. There's underground tunnel systems connecting all these huge underground cities in this area. So again, what the heck is going on there? Why were people back then, when presumably it was ridiculously difficult to tunnel miles through rock? What were people doing making these frickin' super long tunnels underground? What was the purpose of that?
Well, yeah, dude.
I'm going to have to get BMR or maybe Robin if she's available to fill in for me on Thursday, because I'm going to be out in the woods hanging around the Sasquatch, so I won't be available to be on the show.
Yeah,
just so you know.
Robin will do it. I mean, I love Rob. I love it when he comes in. He's brilliant.
If Robin's not actually in the field filming like they are doing tonight, she probably would enjoy doing it, because now she's been stuck doing this damn up all night in the woods thing for a few nights in a row. She's used to being on the schedule, so she'll actually be awake when you need her on the air. So I'll ask her tomorrow if she can do it.
Yeah, that'd be wonderful if she wants.
She already said she would be the fill-in person if neither me or Rob could do it. She would jump in there. So if you want her, I'll see if she can do it.
Yeah, I love Robin. Such a good soul.
Yep, and she's incredibly freaking knowledgeable too.
Oh yeah.
I know she probably gets something right at some point, but it hasn't happened yet. Still waiting for that.
YJ or Noble Patrick, Dave, ever thought about an RF meter when you're out? I do bring a K2 meter out when I'm out in the forest. That has got some very interesting stuff. But an RF meter, I don't own one, but I will. I'll check into it, Double Patrick, for sure. I will check into it. All right, Super Duke, we're gonna say goodnight to everybody here. I'll get you to hold on for a second, if you don't mind.
Sure.
But we're going to say goodnight. Thank you to our super chatters tonight. Smithy, Kira, Chris, Lala, Co-Create Happy, Grant, YJ, Doug, Rex, and Dry Toast. Thank you so much for being here. Tomorrow night on the show, Jay King is going to be here. We're talking experiencers and disclosure. What role will experiencers play as we move into the disclosure movement? That's 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. Don't forget, if you could do me a favor, if you haven't already, hit a thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways. And if you're new, hit subscribe. Leave a comment below. That all helps with the algorithms, guys, and we would really appreciate it. We'll see you all tomorrow night, everyone.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
You need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.